Good evening to everyone. Thank you for attending our board meeting tonight. Board members, superintendent, staff, students, stakeholders. We're glad to have all of you here tonight. We call this meeting to order at 6:57 p.m. And at this time, we're prepared to go forward by reading our mission statement. We get it on our screen. Our technology department. Read our mission statement together. All right. If we can read our mission statement together. The mission of the Welland City School District is to create and maintain a highly effective educational system in which every student receives the highest quality education. School employees and parents work together to prepare students to become caring, competent, and responsible citizens who value education as a lifelong process. Thank you so very, very much. At this time, our board members, we will ask if you would review our agenda for tonight. Do you have any additions or deletions at this time?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as printed for tonight.
Been motioned by Ms. Hale and seconded by Mr. Williams, that we approve our agenda for the meeting for this evening. You've heard that motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Ayes have it, so ordered. Let the record reflect unanimous approval of our agenda tonight by the 7 board members present. This time, our open session minutes from our last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for our meeting from last month, October 2022.
It's been motioned by Ms. Hale and seconded by Mr. Williams that we approve our open session minutes from our last open session board meeting. You heard that motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye?
Aye.
Any opposed was nay? Ayes have it, so ordered. Let the record reflect unanimous approval of the minutes. At this time, we will go into our recognitions and celebrations for this month.
Greetings, board chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, community, and Mr. Superintendent. Tonight, I have a number of recognitions for you. First, we'd like to start with our individual recognitions of our student of the month, employee of the month, and parent of the month for this November 17th meeting. As usual, none of these individuals have been notified ahead of time that they're receiving this. So hopefully this will be a surprise to them as well as everyone else who's in attendance today. So first student of the month I want to bring to you is from the middle school. Sure, Mr. Superintendent didn't steal it from. There we go. This young lady also is on the volleyball team. She is well respected by her coaches and her administrators. And that student of the month is Christiana Solomon. So Christiana, we got a couple things for you. We got a Chick-fil-A gift card. It's open now, so hook it up. Certificate, and we got a card for you. As well, make sure that show that Charter Pride. And if you would like to take a picture with the chair and the superintendent. That's a lot of moving parts. Oh, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Our next student of the month, a young man who's on the football team, and until tonight, I thought he was a senior. Apparently, he's a sophomore. Could have knocked me over and told me he's a sophomore. Had one of my favorite plays during the football season this year. It was a pretty fade pass right into the end zone. It was nice. And that person is Mr. Sylvester Witherspoon. And he, oh, okay. Here, you want me to hold something? Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah, now I've got the stakes for everybody too after all the recognition. I just didn't want you to fumble around with them right now. Next, we have our parent of the month. This parent was actually nominated by a teacher at RVET. And not sure if she's in attendance tonight. She was invited, so hopefully we'll see. And I'll redact the name first before I tell you who it is. I would like to nominate this person as parent of the month. This person sprung into action when our charter football player was injured at a playoff game against Northside High School, 2 hours away from Wellington. The player was injured in the first 3 minutes of the game and needed medical attention immediately. There was not any medical transportation available to transport the student. This person drove their personal vehicle 25 minutes to the nearest hospital with the player and ensured that he was given proper medical attention. We would like to honor Ms. Nicole Baker for her willingness to assist. You get a Chick-fil-A gift card too. Well, tell her to hook it up double back. Thank you. And we have one last individual recognition, that is our employee of the month. This person was nominated by their supervisor and a colleague. Must be doing something all right if you can get your supervisor and a colleague to say good things about you. The mentions that she had were that she goes above and beyond, even if it's not her job or her department, she'll always pitch in and help out. And that employee of the month is Ms. Sabernia Turner. Get to hear some more work.
That's what it was.
And you didn't say no. That's it for those. Ms. Captain, if you could, the picture of it. This next recognition isn't one that's necessarily listed, but it's one I believe is worthy of recognition. I need to point out, you might want to look, you're on the screen. That is a picture of one of our board members, Ms. Jenkins, with some staff and some students who early voted. I made sure to post this on our social media, and also I sent this picture to staff to encourage them to vote. We just heard a mission statement. We talked about how we want to raise these children. Well, this is a good first step in that, because so much blood was shed for us to be able to have the right to vote. We need to encourage everyone to vote. We're not telling you who to vote for, just telling you to be a part of that voting process. And so just want to recognize these young students for starting these great responsible habits early. So here, Then I have another recognition that's not on here, and that is of our board. Our board recently was at the North Carolina School Boards Association Annual Conference in Greensboro. What makes this particularly of note is that our entire board was there, along with our board clerk and our superintendent. It is an important conference where you get to share, network ideas, learn about new concepts and trends that are going on in public education, and also overall board members, how to be a better board member. So kudos to our board for that investment in their time, because I tell you what, the first day, I think you had activities until 10 p.m. Is that correct? Yeah, so 8 in the morning till 10 p.m. Not necessarily what I would call like a retreat per se. It's definitely conference. And the sessions are very long. It's not short. They're an hour and a half each. That's a long time to be in a session, and our board members are there. They're soaking it all in. Kudos to them. And on the side note, for the breakout sessions that are there are presenters from all over the state. Where we at 115, 116 districts now. And our own executive director, Mr. James Tripp, one of the presenters. There's only a handful of school systems this year that were selected to present. Mr. Tripp represented as well as there at the School Boards Association. All right, and next up on our recognitions, we have the intro of, I'm going to go ahead and say it, you're at least a regional internet superstar. Our new principal, Mr. Brian Hopkins. Let me tell you, when you can go ahead and say this, come on up. When I put your picture up with that press release, I try and check and see, how popular folks are within the first 24 hours. Now, y'all are local, y'all know the population there. Within 24 hours, he had 28,000 views of his picture and 7,000 retweets of press release. I was floored, but that also shows you who's behind you. You got support, you got energy. I can tell you from the first day I was here this afternoon, he was introduced. I went back and looked at those pictures because the camera never blinks. I don't know if y'all know that. I went back and looked at the pictures, and all the staff members are leaning forward. Most of them are smiling. They're just giddy with excitement. So you've got a great win behind your back. Use that to fill yourselves, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Board Chair, Vice Board Chair, members of the board, Dr. Williams, Superintendent, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come back home. I'm a Charger, graduated 1998, right here from this high school, took my senior pictures right here in this room. I just want to let you know I'm gonna pour everything I have into my students. I want to keep that tradition going. I want to create opportunities, and I want to see our students be successful. I have an open door policy to the community. Please come in, talk to me. I want to meet with all stakeholders and do what I have to do to make sure that our Chargers get to where they have to go. Thank you again for the opportunity.
And our final recognitions for the night. Now, everyone who's been waiting, thank you so much, families and students, for coming out. I'd like to bring up the athletic directors from middle and high school. We're here to recognize our middle and high school football and volleyball program. We're going to have Mr. Hopkins first, give a few words about our middle school programs.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Board members, chair, superintendent. I would like to introduce the volleyball team from middle school. Our girls came in third place during the regular season and third seed in the tournament. All ladies stand up.
Y'all come over here. We want you to be seen on camera.
They finished with 11-5 regular season record. Came close to going to the championship game in the tournament.
Yeah. All right.
Yep, I got the last.
1, 2, 3, shut the door.
May introduce the football team. We had a rough year this year, a lot of injuries. We came in seventh in the season, but they fought to the end. I think last game we only had, well, I think 11 players. Y'all only had 11 players, 12 players for the last game. That's how injured we were this year, but they did good. I want to see two in here. Y'all come on up here. Quarterback, but he was quarterback and running back, quarterback, running back. Yeah. And Paul Garrett, he had a death in the family, so he couldn't be here tonight.
Next, we'll have AD Lynch, come up for our high school.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I would first like to introduce my volleyball team from Weldon High School. I'd like to start off with the coaches. Please come forward and call your name. First, Coach Katrina Bevier. Now I will go on with the athletes, the calling of the athlete's name. Once I call your name, please come forward. Young ladies, first I would like Janelle Baker, Caitlin Davis, Nadeja Fenner, Shaylin Johnson, Danae Knight, Samaria McGee, Taquasia Pierce, Vanilla Price, Zuri Reed, Diana Richardson, and Sanaya Witherspoon. Yeah. Yes, right, exactly right. Sorry about that. Cameron Dixon. Her name is on the back page of the eligibility sheet. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. So the next person I would like to introduce. The next person that I would like to introduce is a young lady that was picked by her peers, all of the coaches of the volleyball coaches of the Tyrone Athletic Conference. And this lady was voted the Tyrone Athletic Conference Coach of the Year, Miss Phyllis Neville. And it don't stop there. This next award is going to a young lady that was also voted by all of the coaches in the conference. From my understanding that this player was voted unanimously. The Tyrone Athletic Conference Volleyball Player of the Year, Miss Brianna Luke. And the Lady Chargers were second place in the conference. Good job, Lady Chargers.
She was about to get you.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And next, I would like to introduce the Mighty Chargers football team. Had a pretty good season. Believe we were 3 or 4 in the season. And had a playoff appearance. The volleyball team also had a playoff appearance. Got to mention that. So I would like to start off by calling the coaches up. Head coach Stephen Brickle. Assistant coach Michael Peebles. Assistant coach Joseph McGee. Assistant coach Kelvin Jones. Now I'll introduce our players. Come forward as I call your name. First name, Adrian Allen. DeVito Alston. Navario Alston. Demorian Banks. Passon Bevier. Detroit Burgess.
Y'all don't mind, move over so they can see you in the camera online. Thank you.
Next, Elliot Campbell. Nicholas Cheatham. Jaquez Davis. Darby Edmonds. Jaden Gregory. Michael Harris. Edward Hawkins. Joshua Howard. Gary Johnson. Omarion Lashley. Amari Martin. Imari Mills. James Robinson. James Scott. Demond Squire. Charlie Sutton. Galvin Sutton. Taquan Terry. Tavion Tillery. Amari Williams. Bryson Williams. Sylvester Witherspoon. Marquise Whitmore. DeAndre Durham. Nazir Plum. Hopefully I didn't miss it on. If I miss it on, please stand. This is our Mighty Chargers football team right here. They work extremely hard on the season. Appreciate you guys. Good job.
Thanks, members of the board. That concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so very, very much for sharing those highlights and recognitions as far as our student athletes and our athletic department is concerned. We're very, very proud of the accomplishments of our student athletes and the coaches and what they bring to our district. Let's give them a hand again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. At this time, we'll go into our reports and we will begin with Dr. Williams.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, board members, all in attendance. Just want to share with you that the Central Services and I have continued to be engaging in our strategic planning. It's an ongoing effort at Weldon City Schools, and we are working toward getting it to a point that we were presented to the full board so that you all can see where we are and weigh in on the strategic planning. So then we would have the stakeholders of our faith-based members, our parents, other stakeholders to be a part of that strategic planning to make sure we're doing that, which is the best for our school district. We've concluded the benchmarks for all schools, and Dr. Carpenter will speak more to that a little bit later on, but just want to highlight that that is something that we've concluded as we speak. We have a full staff of principals now, and I want to just say thank you to the Board of Ed for allowing us to have these principles in place for stability and for the purpose of moving our schools along, moving our students along so that we can see some academic improvement as we move forward. I do want to say thank you to the Board of Ed for your support. We also are working on gifts that we would like to share for all students of our school district for the holidays. It's something that we at the Central Services, we are working toward as we speak, just to say, to give them encouragement along the journey and to celebrate the holidays with all of our students. So we're working toward that, and I do appreciate your blessings and support with that effort moving forward. We are also working to be of support to all of our staff. And as you know, that is one of the things that we will be having to vote on in our consent agenda for the retention bonuses that's coming up. So we want to make sure we have that. The Board of Ed will vote in the consent agenda to continue with the retention bonuses for all employees. So then you will have a little better holiday season as we go forward. We also have partnered with the Department of Public Instruction to give us a principal support person for 3 of our 4 principals. And this is at no cost to the district. And this is all for the purposes of student performance improvements for all schools, all students. And for that one school, which is RVEC, we are engaging into a contractual agreement with an individual to help this particular principal with new schools training so that we can stay on track with the concept of an early college. We don't want to deviate from what the early college should be. So we have a person that's trained in that area who will be coming to help train Mr. Pullen in this effort. The other principals will receive their training and support from DPI at no cost. The trainer for RVEC's principal will be at a cost because that school is not a low performing school. Therefore, we'll have to absorb the training for that. And finally, I would just like to say happy holidays to all family and friends as we go into the holiday season next week. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Williams, for sharing your report this evening. Excuse me. Let me begin this report tonight with some brief highlights. And before I even go there, let me say to all individuals that are celebrating a birthday in the month of November, a very happy birthday. Our clerk to the board, Miss Fantasia Dickens' birthday is today. And so we say happy birthday to her. and other individuals that's celebrating their birthday in this month of November as well.
Happy
Us.
birthday to you as well.
And we'll pause him and say happy birthday to you,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, today as well.
Thank you, sir. I was going to say you all are looking at me like somebody else is on this day. Miss Jenkins was giving me the eye just a minute, like you better wait a minute. So my birthday is today as well. And we're here trying to carry out the business of our school district. I saw too much gray hair on my head today, so I said I better get a clean cut before I come to the meeting tonight. But to all of our staff, our students and our stakeholders that are celebrating a birthday in this month of November, we hope that you have a very wonderful birthday celebration. And even as we prepare to go on our Thanksgiving break next week, please be safe, enjoy. Eat in moderation, don't overdo it because of next week, but we certainly want you to enjoy and be safe. Along with what Mr. Stevens alluded to earlier concerning our board, our entire board did go to our North Carolina State School Board Conference this week. We were there Sunday through yesterday, and it was an enjoyable time. It was good to see colleagues across the state from other boards that we've had the opportunity to share with over the years. But I do want to give two highlights concerning our board, in addition to what Mr. Stevens alluded to earlier. Weldon City Schools, we were the recipient of the North Carolina School Board Association Bail Award. And that was our entire board, and I will read as they presented to us and called our name. School board members are required to earn 12 clock hours of training every 2 years. The NCSBA Bail Awards for whole board achievement recognizes boards that are working towards this requirement. A Gold Bail Award recognizes boards where every member earned 12 hours of training between July 1 and June 30th of the school calendar year. A Silver Bail Award recognizes boards where every member actively worked towards meeting their 12 hours of training between July 1 and June 30th. And I want to report to this community that we serve that your entire elected board, we received our duly assigned hours of training within the NCSBA. And I think that is worth a round of applause for the board that you elected. Also along those same lines, each board member was recognized for hours of achievement in different categories: the Silver Achievement, the Certificate of Advancement, and I'll read the Certificate of Achievement is 50 hours or more. That's where individual board members receive 50 hours or more of training. Certificate of Advanced Achievement, 100 hours. Certificate of Excellence, 200 hours. Certificate of Distinction, 300 hours. Diploma of Distinction, 400 hours. Graduate, 500 hours, and continued graduate over 500 hours. And I do have a book here of recognitions for the state. I grabbed the extra one, so if there's any community member that wishes to see this, you can see all 7 of Weldon City Schools board members are ranked in one of those categories for our hours of achievement as board members. So I want to highlight that as well, and it was good to see all of our names printed somewhere in the particular categories for hours. And of course, the longer board members have been on the board, the more hours they have accumulated. So we all place and rank in different categories as far as the hours are concerned. I also want to share this because we have been working as a board very actively. And I can say these last 2 years, we fill some major positions within our school district as far as executive directors and building administrators, superintendent, other faculty and staff members, and it goes on and on. And I just wanted to highlight briefly, since we have been working together these last 2 years. Everybody know it, I'm quite sure that the staff members will appreciate that this board approved the new pay scale. So all employees will be on their right pay scale. And it would go from the years of service that you have. We have done that. This board, we have approved that central heat and air will be put in our high school gymnasium. And you see that work underway right now as we speak, and you see it throughout the days of passing by our high school. We did approve 2 years ago the employee bonuses through and by the ESSA funds of the $2,500. And we hope that you can appreciate that as well, employees are receiving an extra $2,500 a year. We have been approved for the capital needs grant that the state awarded Weldon City Schools not too long ago, that we could look into building, and it will come to fruition, building a new 612 campus school for our students. We're looking forward to that, and we've reported that. All the committees on our school board have been appointed, and they are functioning, and they are meeting regular meetings. And so we have been working. We purchased new vehicles, and the list goes on and on and on, things that we have accomplished as a board within the last 2 years. And we're looking forward, the 7 of us going forward for the next 2 years, because we just had an election, and we congratulate our current board members in retaining their seats and being re-elected to serve the citizens of Weldon City School District, our students, our staff, community stakeholders. And I wanted to highlight that because sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle of what has been done over a period of time. And we're moving forward. We're looking forward to greater things. We're looking forward to doing more things. And of course, it is going to require the support of our students, our parents, our community stakeholders, our staff, our colleagues, all of us together, if we are going to get to the same destination. And we want to arrive there together. And I just wanted to give that brief highlight of what has taken place over the last 2 years with this board working and functioning. And I am grateful to be a part of this board and to serve with this board as we are working together. We may not all see eye to eye on different things, but it's one common thread that links all of us together while we are here. And that is because we want to see our students be the very, very best. And community, we're going to continue working together to make sure that our students have the very best, and that Weldon City Schools is a premier school district that can be a shining light in our community. Thank you for hearing that report. Thank you, board members, for your continued support, again, as we are striving and working together to make Weldon a very, very wonderful place for student achievement and student learning. Thank you for listening to that report tonight. And some would probably say if it was my birthday, I would have taken that time off. Well, it's my birthday, and I should have the choice to do what I want to do on my birthday, and this was important to me. And I celebrated yesterday evening, and I'm gonna celebrate tomorrow, and whatever time we have left tonight, I'm gonna celebrate the rest of this evening. Thank you for hearing that report, and we certainly are looking forward to greater things as we charge forward into excellence, extreme excellence within the Weldon City School District. Thank you so much for your listening ear with that report. At this time, we're going to move forward with our monthly financial statements, and we'll ask Mr. Edwards if he will come at this time.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Board Chair,
Good evening.
Vice Chair, Superintendent. First and foremost, we're going to look at
the financial statements from the month of October, our previous month. Before I get into that, there were some areas of interest from the previous month of September. And I wanted to bring that to the forefront, just as a highlight. And that interest was a sum of funds that was revenue for our Fund 2, which is our local account. Basically, we had a supplemental tax revenue of approximately, well, $788,000, $690.91. Okay, that is due to an influx of revenue, tax revenue, that was received in July and August. Okay, I was asked by the board chair and another member to investigate that large sum. And I found out that these are revenues that typically come in during that time, where people are paying their previous year's taxes, as well as people are paying taxes to prevent non-payment or to get ahead of the game. Okay, so that large sum of funds typically comes in that time frame between July, August time frame. So, and I look back over the course of a couple of years, and I saw the same scenario during that time frame. So it's nothing new to see that large sum of funds come in that particular time of the year. Okay, so just to let you know, and I just wanted to make that statement just to get a clarification on that particular number. Okay. I know I wasn't here last month. I was in a conference in Asheville to give you the September financial statement. And if I need to go over any of those numbers, I will. If not, I will proceed.
Board member, you need to go over right here.
For September.
Yes, September. It's in the packet. And I will say, board members, that as you look through that for September, when we did have our finance committee meeting, and Madam Chair, our finance committee, we did discuss this, as Mr. Edwards said, about the high influx of the money that came in for September. And we did ask him to bring a brief explanation as he found out to the board meeting tonight, so all of us would be on the same page. Was it, money in arrears or something like that? And he gave the explanation of that tonight. So we were on top of that. And Ms. Jenkins, myself, and of course, Ms. Kay Robinson, chair of the committee, we did share that in our finance committee meeting. Do we need to go? Yeah, go ahead.
Were there any minutes from the meeting, the finance meeting?
Ms. Dickens have the notes that were taken.
Could you share them with the board, please? With the entire board.
And
So-
going forward, I know we're talking about finance, but to Ms. Hale's point, when all of the committee meets, do we, because it was normally, shared with the committee, and then the report was given, as committees gave reports. But if we need to make sure that the minutes are given, to the board when the committees meet, we can make sure that happens as well, send out, so everybody will know the information.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank
We'll do that. So we good with September?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Okay. So we're looking at October. And like I said, we will go over Fund 2, which is our local fund first, starting with a beginning balance of $1,400,279.51, and collected tax revenues of $130,403.92, and leaving us with a year-to-date balance of $1,400,000 $178,683.43. Okay. Expenditures, in the beginning of the month were $538,700.22, with a month expenditures for October of $268,464.01, leaving a year-to-date balance of $807,164.23, with a net result for the year of $371,519.20, and an unobligated fund balance of $1,725,850.71. And that's for Fund 2, our local fund. Moving on to Fund 4, which is our capital outlay. For October, we had a beginning balance of $12,480.39 and a tax revenue of $14,138, which gave us a year-to-date of $26,618.39. We all incurred expenditures of $35,610.20. I'm sorry, that was our beginning balance, with our incurred expenses of $6,681.47, leaving a year-to-date overall balance for the month of October of $42,291.67. Net result of a negative $15,673.28, but an unobligated fund balance for the year thus far of $662,165.86. Okay. For our Fund 5, which is our child nutrition expense, we started with a beginning balance of $148,663. Other revenues that came into the account as a sum of $4,933.04, that gave us a total of, for the year date, of $153,596.04. Expenditures at the beginning of the month gave us $169,537.44, with the month expenditures being $77,080.97, with a net result for the year, with the net result for that month of $246,618.41, giving a net result for the year of a minus $93,022.37, but an unobligated fund balance of $236,517.45. And with our last fund, Fund 8, which is another local fund.
Mr. Edmonds,
I'm sorry.
excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. You said we're in the red with operations for the year with child nutrition of in excess of $93,000.
Yes, sir.
Is that because of funds coming back to us that are owed as far as reimbursements, or?
Yes, sir. Those are fund reimbursements from the state that we haven't received. Next month, we should have a better number.
Okay,
because I noticed that a lot of those funds have been coming in.
okay. Thank you.
Again, the last fund, Fund 8, which is another local fund. We started with the beginning balance of $94,255.94. And we have local government tax revenue of $17,728. That gave us a year-to-date revenue side of $111,983.94. Our expenditures at beginning of the month were $145,669.49, with the month's total expenditures being $40,677.18, giving us for that month, for the month of October, around $186,346.67. But a net result for the year of a negative $74,362.73, but an unobligated fund balance of $606,626.75. Again, the negative number is because we are still getting funds in to mitigate those types of outcomes. The next item is our all PRC report. And I also put in the one for September as well as October, because I felt that they were relevant to be shared tonight. We're looking at some of the items on the September report as being, as some of the notes that I put in, where we had amendments to be established on the fund PRC 009. We also looked at the restart of schools, PRC 037. That particular item is still under the works because we have documents and information from the state that we're still trying to gain. Okay. The other items, like I said, from September have been majority of them have been cleared up due to the October PRC statement, which, like I said, we can look at that, and that'll give you more of an indication on where we are forward. So if we look at those particular items and actually compare them, I've already mentioned how we have cleared up the the PRC 009, and those items have come into the plus. Okay, we're still looking at the restart of schools, but as I mentioned, we're looking at getting additional information on what the amount per student is from the state. And that pretty much is our hiccup there. We have all the other information, but we still haven't received how much the state is allotting per student. Okay, they've given us the information about our ADM, but like I said, they haven't given us the information on what the dollar amount is per student as of yet. And it didn't come in before we came into the meeting. So, and I do check on that every day. For PRC 095, RAC employees, that's another item that the state has not released the funds to us. But hopefully that will be happening here soon. But like I said, we're waiting on that information from the state Department of Public Instruction. We look at ESSER 181, I'm sorry, PRC 181, which is ESSER 3. I'm sorry. Am I looking at? Yes. That particular PRC is showing a negative. And what has happened there is they took the funds out of the wrong account, and we just have to put them into the right account. They took the funds out of the wrong account, that's why it's in the negative, and we have to move those into the correct account. And that will be reflected on our next PRC information. As we stand on the federal side, the majority of those funds that are in the red have been corrected because we received a large portion of those funds just recently because they had some errors in them, but those errors have been corrected, and a majority of those items in red have been corrected. And the funds are there, and they are in the positive now. But like I said, they just came in after I put together this report. So in the next month's report, they should be reflected like so. And again, the same thing on the 171 piece PRC, the ESSER 2. Again, those funds have been received, but they're not reflected here because the report was put in before they were released. Everything else is in the positive, as you can tell, and we are doing an excellent job towards our audit, which should be hopefully handled and completed before the middle of next month. Okay. One of the last things that we're here to talk about, there have been some additional budget amendments for the local side. We ordered a budget amendment that the board has to sign off on. And it's local 01 for the local budget fund 8. We're looking at the descriptions of salary for those particular items and increases across those particular amendments. Preschool, transportation, salary for COVID response, contracted services for DPI, and tutoring across the board. We're looking at an increase in our budget for those items of $376,631. Our appropriated budget was $867,404.87. And with those increases added into that number of the $867,404.87, increasing it by the $376,631 would give us an appropriated amended budget of $1,244,035.87. Again, that's for the board chairman to sign off on, okay, for that amendment.
Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, excuse me. We need to pause a minute. And I think, Mr. Weber, I'll need your assistance on this because we did not approve any budget amendments on our agenda for tonight. And if we're gonna take action on that, do we not have to entertain a motion to amend our agenda so we can include that, so we can actually take action?
I think that makes sense out of an abundance of caution to ask for a budget or a agenda amendment to add this item. It could fit under financial reports, but I think it makes sense if there's unanimous consent to amend it.
Okay. Because he's asking for approval and we normally approve, you know, they're on our agenda, so minutes will reflect. So, and if we're going to do that, there's two other things that was left off, excuse me,
No problem.
Mr. Edwards, but I want to make sure we all together, because I don't want to sign nothing that the board didn't approve.
You're correct.
On the back, with our consent agenda, Dr. Williams alluded to that earlier. about the employee bonuses, the $2,500, what we do in December and May, that's not on our consent agenda. So we would need to add that to the consent agenda. Neither is the beginning teacher support program that we talked about. That's not on the consent agenda either. That's up there for action. Yeah, on this page on the facilities. Thank you. But those things, the budget amendments. And I'm gonna say B under the consent agenda on the back, number 9B would be the $2,500 bonus for all employees. And C would be beginning teacher support program. That's through in ECU, right? East Carolina University. I wanted us to get that real quick so we can
What was,
be in, go ahead.
what was it again? Okay, I have the budget amendments, the BT support, retention bonuses, and what else?
That was it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Of course, the budget amendments would go under, I guess this would be C number 1. On the front where Mr. Edwards would be asking for the amendments. Because he actually has 2 amendments here, if you all are looking in your packet, and we need to make sure that our minutes reflect that. So, amending the budget, and then I'm asking also, so we won't have to amend twice, that we do add item B under the consent agenda, the $2,500 bonuses for all of our employees, our retention bonuses, $1,250 in December, $1,250 in May, and then C, beginning teacher support program through and by ECU.
Mr. Chair, I move that we amend our agenda to state, to add the budget amendment, state 01 and local 01 under C, monthly financial statements. Second. And under consent agenda to add the employee bonus of $2,500 and the ECU beginning teacher support program.
All right, thank you so much. The motion has been moved by Ms. Kay Robinson and seconded by Mrs. Bird Robinson that we amend our agenda to include the budget amendments, local 01 and state 01, and that we would also amend to include 9B, the $2,500 bonuses for all of our employees, and C, the beginning teacher support program through and by ECU. Heard that motion that has been properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion to amend our agenda to include the items that I just stated, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye? Aye. Any opposed to that motion, your voting sign of nay? Ayes have it, so ordered. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect unanimous approval to that amendment, to those amendments rather, to our agenda. Thank you so much. Just wanted to make sure.
One last thing, and this is also something I feel that needs to be addressed, is the payment for Gaston KIP and Halifax KIP has been sent to them. So that particular item for August and September has been taken care of.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Okay, that's it for me. Any questions?
We haven't.
It's it for me.
No, I'm saying, we just amended the agenda. We haven't approved the amendments yet.
Sorry.
Wanted to make sure we didn't have any other question on the amendments before we move further forward. Excuse me. Now, we heard one. Do you have any questions on the other one? I interrupted you because I didn't want you to go any further until we actually put this on the agenda, so it would be inclusive. So when we actually took action, the minutes would have recorded, we amended the agenda and the action that was taken.
Right, fair enough.
All right. We want to be on the same page with you. So you can go into state 01 now if you want to share that real quick.
Okay. State 01 amended budget. We're basically looking at a amended budget to increase computer software supplies, instructional supplies, salary lead teachers, school principal bonuses, longevity payments, and computer software supplies, additional computer software supply. That would increase the budget $329,000, 392, with a appropriation budget of $7,115,083, and increasing that number by the $329,392 would give us a current amended budget of $7,444,475.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept local amendment 01 and state amendment 01 budget amendments.
Been motioned by Ms. Katie Robinson and seconded by Mrs. Bird Robinson that we approve state allotment 01 and local allotment 01 as it has been detailed and given to us tonight to cover expenses within our budget. You've heard that motion. Any further discussion?
There is a grammatical error on 01, state 01.
Okay.
The salary lead teacher.
Salary lead teachers.
Salaries instead.
I can. Sorry about that. Spell check doesn't work sometimes.
Also, Dr. Grooms, I wanted to say that, we were talking about the bonuses, last year, and we have said that we do include everyone in our school district. Our bus drivers, everybody, coaches, everybody, because they all contribute to the success of our students.
That's correct. And we've made that clear with our finance department that
Okay,
all employees, meaning all employees. So everyone will receive. They'll do.
All those in favor of the motion on the floor, let it be known by your voting sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed to the motion? Ayes have it, so ordered. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect unanimous approval of budget amendments, state 01 and local 01. Thank you so much, Mr. Edwards. We appreciate that. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Edwards? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Federal programs, Dr. Robinson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Board Chair, Vice Board Chair, Superintendent, board members. Last month, I was presenting to you for the middle school, this month, federal programs. And I won't belabor you, you do have this information in your board packet. Just a brief spiel about ESSER 2, it does end in 2023. We have been spending that money. Mr. Edwards just talked about ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, so I won't again belabor you with the details of it. This information is also in your board packet. ESSER 3, however, is the funding that we're going to use for what we just talked about, which you guys just mentioned, the bonuses for every employee in Walden City Schools. So we're using ESSER 3 for that. ESSER 3 does end in 2024, however. In the wake of using ESSER 3 with Fidelity, we have created a ESSER 3 committee, and we've gone back through ESSER 3 to look at the budget details to determine how to best utilize those funds. As you can see, it's a lot of money. But right now, what Mr. Edwards is seeing is those funds are being revised. They're being revised, so I had to do a NCCIP, I had to send them back so that the budget details can align with what we're going to spend the monies on moving forward. Because we don't want to turn any money back over. We want to keep every dime and we want to spend every dime we have.
Yes, yes, you're talking real good, Dr. Roberts. That's good talk.
So I'll be Coach Will. So with that being said, my committee that I'm grateful for, we sat down, we talked about the things that we really need for this district. And not gonna talk about those things because they're gonna come forward next, with those items. But, just wanted to talk to you, say that about, PRC 181.
Okay.
The other, I call them the big three, as a three, and the other part of the big three is the Title I PRC 050. Every school as of right now has their Title I budget, and as of about 3 or 4 o'clock today, they got the revised budget. It dropped on the 11th and it posted on the 14th, as I told you guys in the finance meeting, so every school has their revised budget. I'm still waiting for Restart to drop, and Mr. Edwards did talk about that, and Restart is gonna balance some of the things that are happening in PRC 050. So some of the funding, like for the middle school, we have a lot of things coming out for Elevate, which once Restart drops, we're gonna shift those funds back to the middle school, so their Title I fundings will go back up.
All right.
Again, spending the money with fidelity and making sure we don't turn any money back over to the state. I'm meeting with each principal, some principals I already met with twice, want to provide them that support with not only understanding the budgeting piece, but also understanding what Restart means and what Title I means and what it means to be a Title I school. So we have new principals that are coming in just when all these things are due to the state. They have a flexibility report that's due. They have a school improvement plan that's due. And one school has to turn in a comprehensive needs support, so needs record. So I'm working with them with those things also. And speaking of Title I schools, we do have 3 Title I schools in the district. Sorry. I'm talking faster than I'm presenting here, sorry. Yeah, we do have 3 Title I schools in the district right now. Our 2 Title I schools with new principals, they already had their Title I nights. They've already passed out in their parent compacts, their student compacts, and their teacher compacts. And they've been working really hard to get that information out to parents, posting the parent right to know letters on their websites and on their Facebook pages, and keeping those things up to date. I'm gonna work with Mr. Hopkins tomorrow. I meet with him tomorrow and on Monday again to make sure he's up to speed as a new Title I and Restart principal, and have all his documentation in place for the submission, so he'll be on time. I'm also meeting with elementary school again on Monday, and I meet with the middle school if they need me to meet. The middle school has already submitted all their documentation for this month. There is also some additional federal funding. And again, I won't belabor you with that, the money, pockets of money here and there and I heard this mentioned, for new teacher support, beginning teacher support, there's funding there in the PRC 103. These funds just dropped. They were just approved when PRC 050 were approved. So that money is there for them. PRC 108, which is for STEM PBL professional development. So that's additional monies for school. They have not allotted it to the schools yet. So once they do allot to each school, I will make sure each school knows what their money is. PRC 105 was just submitted. It's for SILP school, which is the elementary school that was submitted. The due date for that was November 30th, but I wanted to get that submitted, and so the monies can go ahead and drop. So Ms. Lee Easter can use her funding in accordance with improving her school. And again, we do have Restart School flexibility reports that are due December 1st. And the comprehensive needs report is due December 1st as well. And I'm working with elementary school to make sure that the school receives support in getting that done. And the student success report is also due for the elementary school and also for the high school. So as a former principal of a Restart school and Title I school, I'm going to make sure that I'm monitoring and helping and assisting and And they have their monies in place and know what monies they have to spend and spend it with fidelity. And we're looking more for personnel instead of a lot of stuff. We do have a lot of stuff right now. Now we need the people in place to make sure that this stuff we can use it. Any questions? For me?
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes,
question.
go right ahead. Ms. Gabriel.
Previously, before you took this position, we were told that our RVEC had become Title
RBEC is no longer, as well, I understand, RBEC is no longer Title I, considered Title I, but they do get Title I funding. So they are included in Title I funding, but they're not considered a Title I school.
I. Okay. We had been reported to earlier this year that they had, previously had received Title I funding, but had become 100% Title I.
No, they didn't. When I spoke to them about our Title I school, they only said the middle school, the elementary school, and the high school, but I will check on that.
Please do.
I knew they have, I won't say minimal, but they have a small amount of Title I funds. And from my understanding, when I discussed it with, the Restart people, they were saying they got Title I funds because we're a Title I district, so forth. And they have students in the building that were considered Title I students, but they weren't considered Title I students. But I will follow up with that because
Please do.
I would need to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Any additional questions?
Dr. Robinson, I do want to point this out. You said it earlier concerning our ESSER III funds.
Mhm.
While I was at the conference, and I'm quite sure some of the other board members probably got this in conversation and collaboration with some other boards across the state. I was talking with one of our state school board persons that currently sit on the board. And he made it very, very clear because we have a large sum of money in ESSER III, that if it was not spent by the deadline in 2024, that money was going to be called back or was going to go back. So again, to your point, we don't want to send one brown penny back. And Dr. Williams, I know you heard it as well. We want to make sure that we do whatever we need to do to make sure that we utilize all of these funds, because they were sent down at a time that was, I'm gonna just say it was a gift to all of the LEAs in the state of North Carolina. And we need to make the best use of them as we possibly can. So personally, I love the information that has been presented tonight. And I'm glad, I'm just flattered to know that all of the principals have their budgets. They know what funds they're working with for this 2022-23 school year. And as we said before, you know, it's no excuse now. I mean, principals, they have their budget, so they know what funds they have to work with. And we certainly want to make sure that we utilize all of these ESSER funds to the best of our ability and our knowledge, so nobody will be sending any money back. We want to make sure every opportunity we have to help our students and our administrators and our teachers in the district, we want to do that. So I'm just pleased to hear you say that plans are in place and committees are working with the ESSER III committee, because that's the next pot of money we have to spend. So thank you so much for being on top of that.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Right. Let's move on down to C&I. Dr. Carpenter.
Good evening, board chair, vice chair, board
Evening.
members, superintendent. I'm going to provide updates for testing and accountability and curriculum and instruction. I apologize if you can't see the data, but you all have it in your packet. During the week of October 18th through October 21st, the students completed their first administration of our benchmark testing for this particular school. And on average, we scored between 52% proficiency and 65% proficiency in reading, science, math, and grades 3 through 8. We also scored between 62%, we scored 62% in English 2, as well as 52% in Math 1. Math 3 and Biology, did not, take those benchmarks because they're year-long classes. So as you can see, we are striving, towards, 55 and beyond. And as we continue to strive towards 55, I will go back and share that we are doing some things to continue to support that effort by providing teachers and students with extra support after school. We have our after school program up and running for our elementary school as well as our middle school. Those programs operate on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. Those areas that are being targeted are reading and math and homework at the elementary level, as well as reading, math, science, and homework at the middle school level. We're also providing support during the day at our high schools during lunchtime for our students. And those areas that are being targeted are English, math, science, history, and elective classes. We have also started our Walk 55s this week. This is an opportunity for us to get out in our schools and do our walkthroughs and provide our principals and teachers with immediate feedback so that they can continue to enhance teaching and learning in our classroom. Next, you will find in your packet the testing updates for this month. On November 8th, all of our 10th graders completed the pre-ACT testing. All of our 12th graders are actually completing the fall ACT work keys testing. That took place yesterday and today, and the makeup days are tomorrow and Monday for all of our 12th grade. And that's fall ACT work keys. And then our second round of administration for benchmark testing will be November 28th through December 2nd. That's for our high school classes only that are semester classes, and those are our EOC courses. And then all of our other students' classes will be taking their second round of administration benchmarks December 15th through December 21st. Next is our curriculum and instruction updates. And so November 10th was our third professional development day across the district. And our teachers all met at the middle school, and they were provided opportunities to continue to learn about a data dive where they took their own data to analyze their own benchmark data to inform their next steps in reference to curriculum. Our teachers also were able to learn about Google Classroom, how to incorporate Google into their classroom effectively to help with instruction. And they also continue to learn about social and emotional learning as well as letters. And all of these are an effort to help continue to improve curriculum and instruction in the classroom. And finally, I would like to just remind everyone that we are going to, on January the 10th, we're going to do our candidacy review with Cognia through our accreditation program. Cognia will actually be in the district on January the 10th, and they will be touring our schools. They will be meeting with our central office staff as well as focus groups that will consist of teachers, students, and parents. Ms. Robinson, who is our district instructional services coordinator, she is in the process of contacting our parents to be a part of our focus groups. Tomorrow, the students will take home surveys to their parents, because we want our parents to have input on our Cognia accreditation process. Our staff will also, our staff and students will also take surveys on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And the surveys we want their input on our culture and climate of our schools, as well as our learning environment. And so at the end of that day on January 10th, we will meet back with the team after they meet with all of our stakeholders, and they will provide us feedback with next steps. And that information will be reported out again to the board when that time comes. That's all I have to share. Any questions? Yes, Dr. Carpenter, you said the only extra assistance that we're giving to our high school students is during lunchtime. There's no other opportunities at this point for our high school students. at this time, but what they're doing is of course, the teachers they're rearranging the schedule so that they can actually add more time into each of the class periods. So that either the teachers will either provide interventions at the beginning of the class period or at the end of the class period, depending on the content area. So they can provide that support. And of course, we have our district facilitators that are also in the schools every day, working with our teachers to provide that support, small groups, or anything, any of those things that they need in order to help our students with whatever homework assignments, whatever that they need to support them in their content areas. But the high schools opted not to do after-school program. They want to take care of the support for our students during the day. So they opt out of the after-school program because of sports and students having to work. Any more questions?
Any other questions?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Right, moving on to student support, operations. Trail.
Board Chair, Board Member Dr. Williams. First, item that I present to you this evening, as relates to, the new 612 school. Do want to, present to you, upon your approval, a recommendation for an architect. Just to give you a little bit of background on how we got to where we are this evening, where I'll be presenting to you a recommendation. As we heard earlier, Weldon City Schools were awarded $50 million need-based capital grant from DPI. Hence, we then issued a RFQ, request for qualified architects, to submit proposals within October 24th deadline. We received Weldon City Schools received 5 very competitive proposals from architects. And we convened a committee comprised of myself, Reverend Sipes as the board chair, as well as Mr. Williams, the facilities committee chair, also present, Superintendent Dr. Williams, Halifax County Manager, Ms. Denton, Mr. Davis, our facilities director, and then I can say myself as well. So we convened, reviewed the proposals, and we each came up with I'm just gonna share with you the scoring rubric, or scorecard rather, based on the RFQ. It really served as our rubric for determining a recommendation. So I'll let each of you to get a copy of that before we continue.
So from the school standpoint, we didn't have, I see all males on this committee. There were no females a part of this team. From the school standpoint.
Not from the school. We did not have a female rep, lady from the school attend and be a part of this committee.
You know, basically a majority female board. And in the future, we need to have female representation from Weldon City Schools and everything that we do.
Absolutely. We all for making sure we have representation across the board.
And I'll speak to that as well. After speaking with legal counsel, it was suggested to me that we would naturally have Mr. Williams being the facilities chair and the chair of the board. And so and we could not have a third person, hence it would be constituting infringement upon having an open meetings and having the public to be a part of something that was not public.
I'm not saying having a board member female. I'm saying a representative in our school.
We
That's
didn't
a
say
female.
that.
No, I'm not talking about the board members because they are.
I
the
thought I
ones that
heard
do
you say something.
it.
No,
What was that?
I
Majority
said we're a
female.
majority female board and we need female representation. Not just necessarily from the board, but female representation, period, on our committees.
And unless something has changed, Mr. Weber, that I'm unaware of. A quorum is 4. That which constitutes an open meeting. Laws, announcement and things of the board, as long as you stay under 4. Whether it's 2 or 3, you should be in good shape, correct?
That's right, for the full board.
Right.
Right. Another female, I mean, could have been a board member there.
No, I was just saying, as long as you stay under 4, that, that's not an open meeting, so whether it's 2 or 3, that was my point of saying that. We couldn't have 4,
Right.
because that would have required a meeting, but if it was 3, it would have been all right, or if it was 2, it would have been all right, according to the general statute. I mean, we're good. Main thing was staying under the thresh of the board.
And again, all I'm saying is that was my advisement from legal counsel, so. But it has nothing to do with necessarily whether there was an additional female or not. Although we did have Ms. Dia Denton to be a part of it.
From the school standpoint was what I was representing. School district, not, outside agency, but our school district.
So that is duly noted as we continue our process to ensure that, there's voice from all genders as we, build a community school together that is certainly going to benefit all students. So as you can see, the results of this committee that was put together, like I said, it was very competitive in terms of the proposals that we received. However, there's always one that will likely have some advantage and benefit in terms of what they're offering to serve as an architect and building a new school. In this particular instance of the 5, Ratio ended up being the highest rank. And as you look at your scorecard, the lowest number would be the highest rank because they were considered with higher preference by the committee members. Just to give you a little bit of background of why Ratio, of some of the characteristics that or qualifications of Ratio compared to some of the other proposals. They had considerably more experience in with high schools in the last 5 years for projects that were over $50 million. They also, their approach with BIM, which is building information modeling, which is where you get to really conceive the project as it goes along in its different phases through a digital application where you can kind of get an idea of what student, staff, community would experience as they build and go through this project and provide opportunity for input throughout the various phases. Something else in their approach that was written in their proposal, they talked about learning design, just it being a communal opportunity to create communal space within the school that allowed students and staff to collaborate really in a 21st century design. Kind of getting students out of straight rows and desks, but really creating spaces where every place is a learning space. To create further engagement, we recognize that's an important asset for students, is to keep them engaged through learning. And of course, as we continue that process, Dr. Kaufman is going to be very important in bringing her in with the instructional lens to ensure that that is incorporated into the design element for instruction, that we build a school through the lens of understanding that it's a learning space and every space is a learning space. Also, Ratio Again, significant K-12 experience, their familiarity with the needs-based grant in particular gives them a slight edge, and in their involvement with some local projects and local districts as it relates to the needs-based grant. And their kind of approach in facilitating stakeholder meetings across the community to get input. They were just had a very collaborative approach in their dealings. Again, lots of competitive, proposals, but there had to be one that would speak to based on these rankings. This was kind of ratio advantages.
Questions?
I have a question, Mr. Pedro. What about the other one that came with staffing? Were they offering community collaboration? Or,
They spoke to it, and this would just be in my review, right? There's just several folks, want to review. In my review, they did not have as much of a, or they speak about it in their proposal, right? And that's what we have to review. Sure, the opportunities were there. I just don't think they went as far enough to give the reader of that proposal an idea of what that looks like from their approach.
Have we actually gone out to visit some of the buildings that we know that, ratio?
So I'm familiar with some of the schools they built, have, been on some of those campuses and have spoken to some folks who have talked to some of their campuses that, they built and have been, really impressed with it. I think might have some, I don't know if any members of.
the one I mentioned to you?
Yes.
I looked it up, and when I looked it up on the internet, it had a different,
They're different.
yes, but and here it has the school that I mentioned.
And there might have been some projects that they did some addition, maybe particularly they did some work, but it wasn't the initial design work.
I will say this, whatever, the board desires to do, of course, it's gonna be a board decision. I just want to say this and Mr. Williams, if you don't mind if I borrow your words, because we basically said that we're saying the same thing. Whoever we go with, we've had our experiences at this school and the elementary school with flat roofs. We don't need no more building with no flat roofs. We need something with some pitch to it, so water won't settle, water will run off, all those kind of things. Whichever one we go with, we don't, and Ms. Williams, you won't add anything to it. Sir, I said you do. I just don't want to see us as a board member. I don't want to see us with anything that has flat roofs. I mean, they're just so hard to repair. They're hard to maintain. They're hard to catch. They're hard to fix. It's water is gonna go, as said so many times before. Your words is gonna go where it can get to the
It's
easy.
the least resistant.
Yes.
path.
So, whichever way we go, I certainly want us to make sure that we do that. When we're looking at our design.
Absolutely. There's so much we gotta consider. As you say, roof is a very important
Very
part of
important.
design. Beginning with the foundation, the excavation work,
Sure.
and making sure the soil test and all
That's
that
right.
kind of stuff, because we know what that experience can bring.
Exactly.
And so all those things are critically important from the ground all the way to the roof, to ensure a building can sustain for the many years we expect it to sustain.
Right.
Without uneven floors, all of it is, all the dimensions of it is important. The envelope of the building, making sure that it stays dry, that it's energy efficient, because even as we make this investment with the help of the state, now it's gotta maintain, right? And that's gonna be, your decision, your at your will to maintain that building. So.
And board members, I'll say this real quick, just to, not to expedite it, but just to, I guess, get us to, not saying that we don't see it, but just exposing it even more. I mean, we have right at $53 million that we have to make good use of a solid building that we're going to look for our students to inhabit and to occupy at least over the next 3 decades minimum. We want to get 30 years plus out of, the school and choosing the right architect, constructor, all of that, it's crucial. It's crucial. And we want all of the 21st century amenities that we can have for our students. We want them to be able to compete and achieve with students from all across the world. And we have an opportunity at our fingertips to make sure that our students have the very, very best that we can get. Of course, we want to get the most bang out of our buck, but at the same time, we have a sincere decision that we have to make. Y'all have other questions or comments? Go ahead and say that.
I think I mentioned to you all, I saw in the paperwork it had a date of 2024. And just looking in this book, I see that another nearby school district has hired one of the architects as well that we have to choose from, which is number 1. But they have a completion date of 2026. So I'm wondering, will there be a problem with, our completion date? Because theirs is 2026, they were awarded a few months before we were awarded the same money.
Well, I'm not really certain
I know
of
you can't
what
answer that
their
'cause you're not-
configurations, what they have set as their timeline, which could be a lot of different reasons why it might be projected out, not certain. But I know we have an agreement, if you're referencing our master agreement that was signed by both board chair here and county chair. And the agreement has to be sent in so that we can start the process.
Right.
And the timelines, I think, have to probably still be a little bit more refined when we think about realistic timelines, just to think about right now. HVAC project at the high school is extended because of lead times on equipment and those type of things. So I think you're gonna have to probably refine the timeline a little bit more.
Yeah.
What you said might not be realistic, 2020, but I think that's where we're working with the architects to figure out the best plan to get it done as early as possible. It's gonna be important.
And I had the same sentiment, Ms. Hale, because the one that is being recommended, they have a whole, if I can say it my way, they have a whole lot of irons in the fire already, seemingly to me. And if we were looking at actually occupying the new school, sometime in the 2024 school year, and of course where I've seen it, if you're gonna occupy something, you either do it the first of the year or, the beginning of the second semester, so children don't have this shuffle and maneuvering while the semester is actually going on. So that was concerning to me as well. But again, I guess the upside to it, we are a smaller school district, possibly in comparison to another school, the capacity that it would actually hold. That has something to do with it as well.
I don't mean personally, I go with the majority of the board, whatever the board decides to do, I'm with the majority.
I think the
So the-
recommendation is being
Yeah, so the
presented.
recommendation is being made that we move for approval with Ratio as our architect. I think with all the considerations that we're hearing tonight, that we, as we move forward in terms of equity of voice in this design.
If I can ask a clarifying question, it's my understanding the administration is presenting the recommendation so that you can continue the process under the qualification-based bidding system to then enter into cost negotiations. Is that right? In terms of where you are now?
That would be the next step.
Right. So what you're
Once
asking
we
is,
select and the board approves the architect, then it goes to the next stage.
So what the board would be approving is the selection of an architect that then kicks off the price negotiations that I believe would come back to the board again at that point.
And if
So-
we're not happy with that, we can go with someone else, or what? I mean, or is it gonna be, whatever we vote tonight will be locked in? After the
Yeah,
price
so-
negotiation takes
So
place.
with architects, it's all governed by the Mini Brooks Act, which requires the first step is to solicit qualifications, which is what the administration has done. They're presenting to you the recommendation for an architect to select. The next step is to negotiate price. And if for some reason those negotiations were failed, right, or there's no agreement on a price, then the district can move on to the whoever came in second in the rankings, go to number 3 and continue down.
I make a recommendation, I make
Oh, if there's no other question or motion, is in order?
a motion to go with, Ratio as our contractor.
No, architect.
Contractor.
Been motioned by Ms. Hale and seconded by Mr. Williams that we move forward with Ratio as the architect for design of the new 612 school. That motion has been moved and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, let it be known by your voting sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Let the record reflect unanimous approval, moving forward with the stated architect. All right. Next. Oh.
Before we go into that, I have a question.
Yes, go
Something
ahead.
that Mr. Buttrell mentioned, you said we are running behind on the HVAC work that's being done in the gym. So I know that we're in basketball season. So how is that going to affect us? Is that going to be completed by the time our students, because of course, I know they need to practice in the gym, but they're going to play in. So how are we with that? Are we going to be done by the time it's?
We will not be finished with that project by the time basketball season is probably over. Because of, just when we started, and I'm working closely with Mr. Lynch, to make sure that when things have to go down in terms of power and, for instance, by tomorrow evening, power is gonna be shut off in that gym throughout the weekend, all next week, and won't return until that Monday we come back from school from Thanksgiving break. So I'm working with Mr. Lynch and the schedule and Mr. Hopkins to make sure that we can work around that as best as possible. Ideally, yeah, we would love to been finished, but we also had to work around volleyball season too. Make some concessions with that throughout the fall. But we are fairly certain that we will still be able to continue with practice and play while that is happening. During Christmas break, we anticipate to be able to use much of that time. While there be some downtime, be able to get some work done inside the building. So we're very, very strategic in what happens outside, the outside work that's happening, but also being thinking about what needs to be done inside in terms of duct work and that type of thing. But we are, we did get behind, as you recall, early in this project, and that has pushed this project behind.
So is there any reason why they're not working? Because I know that some companies, when they're doing things like that, they work late evenings, weekends, all of that, and they are doing that.
they are
And we're
working
still this
weekends.
far behind.
They're working weekends when they can. Like for instance, because we chose next week with the Thanksgiving break, as working with the contractors, that hey, this is gonna be a time where we can use to get some work done. So all those things. We're having bi-monthly meetings with the engineer that was approved last fall on Progressive Design Collaborative, who helped schedule the contractors and their work, and to meet this project completion as close as possible to the established time.
So what is your plan for our students to be able to play basketball? You said you all were coming up with a plan.
So I mean, we plan to play basketball in the gym, but we just know that, like for instance, next week, he's gonna revise his schedule in terms of practices and things like that.
Mr. Hawkins said that we can come down here, but we cannot get the use this facility.
So what are they doing in the gym next week and the week after?
So we had to, as you recall, the board approved for a new 1,000 amp circuit.
So they're still
to
doing that?
Power, yeah, to power the new HVAC equipment. And in order to do that, you gotta disconnect current power that goes to the gym. And so that's hence we gotta shut all that down for that week to rewire and get all the new current going to those systems. And time is really of the essence, because you think about when we purchase these products, you don't get but maybe a 6-month, 1-year warranty before you want to power these things up as quickly as possible, because if there's any deficiencies, which the architect has stated, because of the way they're producing these things out now, just like everybody's struggling with workforce and things, product might not be as what we used to see 5-10 years ago, right? Because of shortages and supplies and things like that. So they really want to get these units powered up and running, especially with that compressor, as soon as possible, so that we can make sure that we got a product that's gonna be, warranted.
So have you made arrangements for our students to be transported from the high school to the middle school for practice? Because our students don't have transportation.
I have not, but I would want to work with my athletic director to see if we
Okay.
worked out that part of it.
Not the transportation.
Okay,
Okay, transportation has to be worked out. If we're gonna transport them, but they have to get to the middle school.
okay, I'll work with you on that, get that done. That's okay. And transportation with the bringing to will be an integral part in helping with that, so.
All right. All right, no other question?
So we're looking to be down, you said next week. We're looking for it to be down about how long? Is it just next week or
Yes.
the
For-
power?
So from tomorrow evening, all the way, power won't return until that Monday morning, we return back after Thanksgiving break. And this is work that just has to be done. I mean, there's no way around cutting the power to get done. I mean, ideally, it's not the ideal, of course. But there's no way around powering up, 2 new HVAC, 2 large units without doing this part of the work. I mean,
So our PE classes aren't able to access the gym as well, right? For the high school.
while power is down, they will not be able to. I mean, hopefully we're looking at alternative ways to get PE, hopefully we have good weather
And let me just say this real quick. None of us are excited about the delay. But because of when the gym was built, and I may as well just say it. Sometimes that's why we need to be sure that we're gonna do the right thing when it comes to building this new school, because some things were built years ago and 20 years down the road was not in mind. And, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not an electrician, but I do know that if your house runs with a 80 amp or, and you have any thought of adding on 10 years, go ahead and get your 100 amp box. So you won't have to go through the process of having to run new wiring and all. That wasn't done with the gym. And that was a problem when we initially entered into it, we thought that the current wattage and everything would run what we were putting in.
it was meant to run without HVAC.
Right.
Right, and just a good analogy.
Right.
Older homes, for example, the kitchen appliances, you don't have as many kitchen appliances as you do now in newer homes. So newer homes are built with higher amperage, larger
Right.
boxes, to power modern day equipment.
Right. And that's what we're running up against. And that's just where it is as far as that is concerned. So do I like it? Do any of us like it? I hear what you're saying, Ms. Bird Robinson. I don't like it, Ms. K. Rob. I don't like it. I don't think any board member like the fact that, having to make these adjustments. But we know it's important. It's crucially important that we have central heat and air. in our gymnasium. And that's just one of the things that we gotta bite the bullet with.
Absolutely, it's a small inconvenience for
Right.
what we're gonna get in
Exactly.
terms of having central heat and air moving forward. We're gonna be down for a week, I mean, but hopefully, moving forward for years to come.
Right.
That gymnasium will be, have heat and air. central heat.
I just want to make sure that we are making accommodations for our students.
Yeah.
That's my concern. I want us to have the heat here. I mean, I've been saying since I was a student in that gym that we needed air there, so we definitely need that. But I just want to make sure that our students, we're not stopping their progress with.
Right, well, I'll certainly support whatever I need to help with the AD and the principal in helping making sure that our students are not severely inconvenienced by this move next week.
All right, thank you much. No further discussion? All right. We're moving on. Coaching supplement. That's
Yes.
next. You ready?
Yeah, so, coaching supplement is next, and Mr. Lynch, you just has been much of a partner in, helping to, develop, a supplement, for your approval. As you recall, during our last, board meeting, what month was that? October, during the October board meeting, we presented to you a, proposed coaching supplement, that would have increased, every, each range and each step on the pay scale by $300, right? We presented that to you. We were asked to go back and look at it again to bring this back. Even in our reviewing this again, we did notice, and I hope you all have this in front of you, right?
Yes.
Okay. We did notice what seemed to have been some discrepancy in the original supplement schedule. And you should see a supplement schedule that was approved December 16th, 2021. And I've circled some items that just seemed to be a discrepancy. It was approved, but that don't mean it's a discrepancy. I don't know what the intention was, but the spirit of the schedule seemed to be that as you move up the ranges from 7 to 1, that there's an increase in the supplement. Whereas you can see where I've circled, that's either going to be same, or even sometimes as you move up closer towards the first range, there's a decrease in the supplement. And I'm not sure, it doesn't seem like that would have been the spirit, but I did want to bring that to you because that does have an impact on how we move forward to make sure this is correct. If that is the desire of what I would thought would have been the spirit of having this in the first place. So I did circle somewhere there seemed to have been some discrepancy. Again, I'm just saying what he said, based on what we think the spirit of this is. But then that does, when you go back to that first page where we're proposing the schedule, the supplement schedule for this year. Again, the spirit is to give everyone a $300 increase on every step, every range. However, that cannot be the case in some cases. There will be some situation where someone may get, especially on range 5, above that $300 increase. That's so that to ensure that as range 6 increases, that we do not end back up in the same situation of where range 5s are getting less than range 6. And I've been thinking about all day how to make this as less confusing as I explained as possible. But I hope that, I wanted to share with you just kind of the original one so to encircle where we began. And then also included in the proposed schedule for 22-23 in parentheses, for your, visual, just so you'll see kind of how you see right there on one page where it was and what we're proposing it can be in order to ensure that the spirit of this schedule can actually exist and take place, with it being incremental steps. And as you know, range 1 is generally positions that have the most responsibility, and therefore, compensation is deserved. Everybody works very hard, but compensation based on responsibility And then as you move towards range 7, generally it's based on, the amount of responsibility that individual might have.
Question,
Yes.
very quick. With what is being presented tonight. Because I'm just gonna say the entire board, I don't think anybody is not in agreement that coaches need to, be compensated. That's been clearly stated that, think the coaches need to be compensated. I'm just asking for clarity. If there is a situation that just got by everybody looking at it and working out fine details, is there language, or I did not see language, or can we, if we approve this tonight, that we're going to hold coaches harmless if it's not,
Yes, sir.
like they're at a certain spot and what we're proposing would actually put them a little less.
We didn't include that language, but the goal was, even as we developed this, to ensure that that wouldn't happen for anyone, which is why we had to increase some by more than 300. So just moving forward, we have a clean scale now to go off of without grandfathering in individuals in the future. Right. That's right.
Exactly.
Okay,
And most of that happened with the ones that was already, implements was already different from what they should have been anyway.
okay. I see the variation in what you're talking about, where 6 was getting more than a 5, same years of experience, and the 5 had more job responsibility
Right.
than the 6, but the 6 was getting, range 6 was getting paid.
That's right.
Based on this, assistant coaches could have been paid with the same number of years experience as the head coach. Now, I don't know if that was, we followed through with that or not, but certainly that was the case based on this scale.
Right.
And
And
that-
just oversight.
yeah, that's right.
I know it's just oversight. There's a lot of numbers here. I had to look at this, spent a lot of hours. making
I believe-
sure this right now.
And those implements were developed several years ago. It didn't just happen with me nor Mr. Petriello several years ago. And we just added on to what was there. But we tried to fix it.
Right, I got you, and I mean, hey, I realize it, inflation is way more than what we probably were looking at 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I get that things cost more, I mean, it is what it is. Y'all have comments? Questions? Let me stop.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
So this be a $300 increase over last year, correct?
Yes,
So that
sir.
would be $600 increase in 2 years. And all mean, I think coaches ought to get paid, like I did for the majority of my life. And no matter what you get, unless you're on a college scale, you probably grossly unpaid by the time you pay for food for someone that don't want to get off the bus and think they just not hungry. So you buying food for them or paying for their shoes. But I think as we look at the scale, I think it may be a bit excessive. And especially when we get over to going from 30 to 31, we have $700 increase. So let's say after 30 years, when you go to that 31st year, you have a $700 increase. I really don't understand that, and and went from what you have in parentheses to another 2,200 now. Just level 1, and also with the ones that designated as like getting paid different for 3 seasons, getting paid different for 2 seasons. I do understand the 2 seasons, because sometimes we would have one person that coached basketball, coach the Chili's football, but a different person did it during basketball season. And with AD, usually we do that for the year. We haven't had the game day administrator, because at the time, the AD did the game day administrator or administrator of the school, we didn't per se have someone named as an administrator, as a game day administrator. And strength coach, we didn't have one of those called, the coaches did the weight room. And basically, basketball, let's say like if you're doing basketball, the strength coach, I mean, you're not gonna have participants there or your spring sports. So I don't see the strength coach as being someone that will replace the, what the coaches are doing.
Well, I know our strength coach that we have now, now since football season is over, he's working with the basketball players that are going to the gym, getting prepared for the basketball season. He's also working with the football players that's already getting prepared for next season. He's also working with the young ladies that will desire to come in that are on the basketball team or who may run some off-season sports. He's here now. We're not gonna ask him how many participants he have per day, because he would know exactly how many participants per day. And from which sports and which season. You want that information, Mr. Green?
I have a question.
Yes.
I know that was-
Hold on, Ms. Bird, Rob.
Oh, I'm forgetting them.
Oh,
No, I don't want that, but I was
I didn't
just
think
saying
you finished.
the pay per season. And let's say like with the AD,
Yes, sir.
give paid, let's say football, then you get another salary for basketball, then you get another salary for spring
Yes.
sports. The game day administrator is doing the same, and usually your AD is just paid a rate across the board. I mean, I don't know anybody else who breaks it down this way, or with a game day administrator. As I say, game day administrator had just been falling under AD, and if the AD was coaching, then a principal or administrator of the school took over that responsibility.
Okay. As of August of last year, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association said that we need to name and have game day administrator for all home sports. So that's what came about. That's how that came about, how we named someone. They said we had to have someone starting last year in August, for all the sports.
Right. But
All
that-
home game.
right, but there could have been your AD that was the game day administrator. Mainly your game day administrator, if the officials have a problem, someone who can go there and make the call on what they want to do. So that could be your AD, or if your AD is the coach, then it may be the principal or assistant principal. We don't have assistant principal pretty much. Yeah, we do to an extent, but it would fall under that. Yes, you do have to have a game day administrator. That's because if there's something going on, they know who to contact. And by chance, if you don't have anybody, if football, something blows up, then if nobody else is there, then if AD is coaching, then that AD takes on that responsibility. But I was just wondering how it was broken up.
Okay. Well, with this here, when we was talking about how they're gonna be paid per season. Let's say the cheerleaders, for instance. I didn't think it would be fair to have cheerleaders to coach the football season, then come back and coach the basketball season, and then we take that one $800 supplement and cut it in half. I don't think that would be fair because they're doing the same amount of work for two different seasons. I think it would be fair to pay the same for both seasons, but they're doing the same amount of work.
Well, I agree with that cause. Sometimes it's a different person, so I agree with that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that address is going to the $700 at the end.
Yeah, and again, I think what we were working with is from where we started. And continuing with the spirit of everybody having a $300 increase. So that $700 existed already. Now, yeah, so if you look at that, the one that was approved 2021. If you look at the schedule from 2021, you'll see that there's a typo that says 38 to 30, but it should be year 28 to year 30 from that scale. But there was a range one, for example, was paid $4,000. This was on the previous approval. Now, I can't go back to John 2021, but it was like this.
It was before 2016.
All right.
Paul, that can go back to
Yeah.
2016.
Right, and then you see, once you get across that 30-year threshold, it goes up to $4,700. So that was a scale that was already current, that's the scale that's currently in place right now.
Yeah, I will tell you, that scale is incorrect. And I know it was incorrect, because nowhere, when this schedule was proposed, it was a $700 increase anyway. And the reason I know that, because I helped propose this schedule. So I don't know where those numbers came from, but that's what you're dealing with, that's what they were paid last year. So be it, but it's wrong. It's wrong.
Okay. All right, well, we can change that, but I know on the last board meeting, I gave you guys a copy of one from 2016 that showed that there was a $700 increase even before 2016.
Now, what we could do is on that last range, as that $700 increase exists, but I mean, as long as we hold folks harmless who are currently, so they don't have any pay reductions, we can then look at that and say, okay, move everything up $300 from that 30-year, but hold anybody harmless who might be in that particular range now grandfathered in, but moving forward, anybody else who comes on would be subject to this new scale. That's one recommendation to help address that large gap. I mean, that's at the end.
I mean, there was just things that I know.
Yes, sir.
And I will say, and I really think coaches deserve the money. But, you know, we got some money now. But the state not gonna keep giving us all this money. We had to use our money wisely, not just with athletics, with all things. We can't spend just because it's coming in now, because COVID not gonna be every 3 years and we get a pot full of money. You know, we got to still budget and maintain, and so that we can sustain what we're doing. Some of you up here know how we weren't we brought people at the power with what we was paying them, but that's because the earlier years we had to put a freeze on it because we ran out of money. And the same thing could happen now if we're not wise and fruitful with our money. So.
And Coach, I would be satisfied. I don't know about Mr. Futrell and you, but I would be satisfied if we just took out that 31, that column 31, and we stop at 30, and then we just can give them $100 increase after 30 years, like the schedule would say. And then we take the whole $700 out. I don't mind that, and just stop at 30 years.
I can't say that. And I appreciate you saying that, but that's up to the board, whichever way they want to go.
Mr. Williams, let me say this real quick, because I was coming on the board at the time when that new schedule was approved. And what I think happened is this, because some of the former coaches had so many years of experience, I think what actually happened is what they were being paid was put in, you know, to the equation at that time because of where their pay was. That's what I'm thinking, because you only see the difference, the variation when you hit that year 31, because some of them had that, you know, much experience. I'm thinking that's just me looking at it now, because I was wondering why it was the $700 jump too, but I'm thinking because of the person that were there, they were at that level at that time, and what actually hit the scale was what was being compensated at that time. And then, you know, adding $100 per, that's the only thing I can see coming up to. I was wondering about the $700 jump, like you said, but that's all I could come up with.
Oh, let's go on our discussion. Move on.
I have a question. Do we have anyone?
Hold on one second, Ms. Burton. Oh,
Mr. Williams asked my question.
okay,
So I got my answer.
all right, go ahead, Ms. Hale.
Do we have anyone in that range between 28 and 30?
The only one that gets Clyde.
We have a person.
Oh, yes.
But we don't have anyone at 31.
He'd probably be moving towards that. He might be moving towards that. You think he thought that, and that's what we talk about, this whole harmless, is to ensure that whatever we decide, that nobody gets a cut as a result of this decision.
All right, let's do this thing. As it has been proposed for conversation's sake, if we can just drop the year 31 altogether. And then we have language written down here, salary will increase $100 per year, beginning year 31. I think that takes care of it all.
Yes.
And then we don't even have to worry about that column. Because we don't have anybody that's even in that range of, where, as you said, just one person, but that may be a year or two, getting there. So if we just drop that column 31 altogether, I think that's the fix. And we can just approve what has been incremented to $300 per year, and then we don't even have to worry about column 31. What 31 years of service over. Board, are you all in favor of just doing away with that? And once you hit year 31, you at the 4,000, and then year 31, you go up to 4,100, year 32, 4,200, so forth and so on. Are we okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Let me ask another question.
Yes, sir.
if I may. With schedule 5 and 6, 5, you're going up 100, and schedule 6, you're going up 200. Wow.
So I think that was where you point out that where we found those discrepancies where, in some cases, Schedule 5 was getting paid less than Schedule 6.
But there's a $100 increment versus $200 increment. This is with $200.
Yeah, and it's to correct what the discrepancy was. So we're trying to be mindful of, okay, showing adjustments and differences in ranges without over exceeding what we know we can allow for too. So I think that was, we try to get scheduled range 5 above range 6 where it belongs, without overextending by so much too.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we good with striking year 31 plus, just getting rid of that category altogether.
Yes.
Board members, we good with that? To my left, to my right. Y'all nod your heads, but you good? Okay. Will that pass for approval then? Striking that. I'm gonna say silence is golden. If there's any more discussion? All right, hearing none, then a motion would be in order to approve the updated coaching salary supplement schedule as we have agreed to amend this and drop off category 31 years plus. Because the language is there, salary will increase $100 per year, beginning with year 31. So that addresses. Motion would be in order. We don't need to just sit and waste time if y'all.
Accept the athletic supplement schedule with the change.
Second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Kay Robinson and seconded by Mrs. Bird Robinson that we approve the updated updated athletic coaches supplement as it has been amended on the schedule. You heard that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Right? Let me do I need to call it, I heard one, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins,
Yes.
Sykes, aye, Ms. Hale,
Nay.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Bird Robinson.
Aye.
And Ms. K Robinson.
Aye.
All right, let the record reflect, motion passes, with 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you so much. All right. EC and pre-K program. Oh, you have some copies.
Oh, no, this is now the student.
Oh, okay,
services side.
okay, all right, got you. I thought you were getting something passed out. Okay.
Okay, so just some updates, brief updates from student services. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, wrong one. That was our student services. Keep it close back, it's real great. Next slide. Just a few updates from student services. As relates to school safety, including your packet is the award letter we received from our school safety grant. It's finally arrived. As a matter of fact, I believe now the funding has actually dropped into our code of accounts. We have received $198,000 this year for our school safety grant. Our team worked really hard to put this grant together to provide a safe learning environment for our schools. As you all pay attention to what's happening across the state, across the country, you realize just how significant it is to place an emphasis on school safety, and this grant is going to help us be very intentional about how we approach school safety for our student, staff, and families and community. As you can see on the award letter, we did receive $88,000 that will contribute towards salaries for school resource officer at the middle school, and also now in addition to having a school resource officer at Weldon Elementary School. So it's my understanding that but the Sheriff's Department is interviewing for that position, and hopefully we can get that person in very soon, so that we now have a school resource officer at Weldon Elementary, Weldon Middle, and of course, our high school resource officer, as it comes out of another budget that the state provided an additional allotment for in our at-risk funding. So we're happy about that. School safety equipment, we have $90,000. We work towards school safety equipment. I work with some of our principals and just central office staff in helping to identify needs, as well as Sergeant Bone, our SRO, did a great job in conducting a needs assessment for this year as we thought about our grant and where we can determine we might need additional resources. And so we've identified some opportunity there. I won't say them here because we want to kind of keep that kind of in closed sessions in that discussion around what our needs are. Services for students in crisis, found a line item to help support therapeutic care, clinical care for students who are in crisis. As you know, there's students who might be underinsured or uninsured as it relates to getting the care that they need. And we know that there's a mental health component often to school safety. And so there are monies to help support students who might be in crisis as we keep healthy school climates and keep them safe. And then also funding to $10,000 awarded also for training to increase school safety, which is any professional development for our student services staff, teachers, administrators, school resource officers, and anyone else who I may miss who may be benefit from trainings to help support school safety. Also, in alignment with this grant, we have also met all of our assurances thus far. There were 3 assurances. One is that we at least work and be in draft mode with our school risk management plan. A lot of that work began with the student services team prior to my arrival, which is one, ensuring that the North Carolina Emergency Management Coordination had schematics of all of our schools, because that's going to be important as they provide real live time response if there ever is a need for some type of response, as well as I provided them our current code of student conduct, which was required under state law now, as well as they are collecting data from all school districts around threat assessment survey, and we submitted that in time as well, hence why we have gotten our allotment this week for this particular grant. Any questions about the school safety grant?
We did, Mr. Chair, we did, see some people while we were in Greensboro that provides, training for teachers and staff. And if we can look into that, I don't know if that's ever been done here in Weldon before, but I know it's a need with fights breaking out. Our teachers need to know how to handle themselves in those types of situations, so they don't get them. And so we need to, because the resource officer is not always close by. We need to see if we can try to get some of that training, so we can let them have some money that maybe we took care of.
Right. I know the nonviolent crisis intervention is really good training to help de-escalate situations
Yes.
before it becomes physical. And that's a really good training for teachers. I don't know if that's one of them.
That's one of my top.
Yeah, the
Yes.
nonviolent crisis intervention is a superb training to de-escalate conflict.
Yes.
We'll take that recommendation.
Thank you.
All right. Also, School Health Advisory Council, commonly referred to as SHAC. This year, we were awarded $60,000. We just was notified of that as well. School Health Advisory Council is a team within the district that addresses the whole child needs. At the beginning of the school year, we had to submit a report upon the superintendent's direction to the state, and that information then drove additional funds to help support the needs of SHAC here in Weldon City Schools. And so that pot of money is in addition to funds that we already have from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services to help protect students and staff against COVID. And so you can see there, the total award was $252,183. However, some of that is carryover money from last grant cycle, which we've already allocated through our budget, through our nurse extenders that we want to create for this year, so that we absorb all that money. Again, it'll be in the same situation. If we don't use it, we'll have to send it back, and we don't want to send any money back. In terms of the SHAC, one of the things is that gives us some flexibility with the SHAC, more so than the carryover money with COVID. We wanted to, one of the things that allows for is playground equipment. And I know there's a need to really enhance our playgrounds at Weldon Elementary. And Mr. Davis and I went out on Wednesday morning. We met with Ms. Easter and let her know kind of the plan of what we wanted to do. And Mr. Wood and Mr. Davis and I did a walkthrough of the grounds just to kind of see what was out there and how best to move forward. We talked about several different options to at least give us a vision here in the district. But our next step really is also really pulling Ms. Easter as well. I know I've introduced it to her, but she was already on the side of Mr. Wood, do a walkthrough with us, but talk further with the administrative team at Weldon Elementary School with some playground consultants. You know, there are people who are experts in understanding what the best, products are for our students, and thinking really holistically about diversity and diverse needs of our students. I know Ms. Fields already talked about how to put some sensory type items out there for EC students and helping to develop fine motor skills even through play. So we're really excited about the opportunity and what we can get out of that. And I'm looking forward to working with Easter and her admin team to help bring some really good products to our students for play.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, sir. I'll come to you.
That's a question about the court at the Wellard Elementary. I understand that that's closed off, that they cannot go out there. What's going on with that? That little inner court where the main office at, and you can go out to go over. to the
Yes,
other
yes,
building?
yes. So we identified that need while we was out there too, working with Easter. There's an area that's mulched, and underneath all mulch, if done right, there's an underlayment. And if that mulch gets too thin, or if, students play it, it has to be, recovered so that it doesn't become a tripping hazard.
Is that where the picnic table?
That's where the picnic tables, and we just temporarily close that down until we get that fixed, which we'll be working on with that remulch, so that
Okay.
that can be opened back up, that picnic table area. Thank you for,
Thank
yeah,
you.
we did address that.
Ms.
while we were
Jenkins.
out there.
And one other thing, Ms. Harrison, the staff and students were using it as a playground. And that's why that wear and tear, because it was not.
It's for a classroom, for the class to go out there and have,
So
lessons.
that continual or repetitive playing out there, that's the mulch and stuff for the undergirding from under that area. But they didn't want to go out, so I'm so glad that Ms. Futrell, they're coming out to do the playground. They didn't want to go out to the playground, they didn't feel that safe.
Yeah, the playground needs help.
And we even discussed the safety element of the playground with somehow creating some privacy, just because it's a well-walked area.
Yes.
And so we just want to even maybe think about how we create greater privacy
Mhm.
for students and teachers to feel safe while they're out there too.
Ms. Jenkins.
Mr. Drea, those outside doors, that playground. I think some of those, is it something that you and Mr. Davis, because I think it's cracks in them outside doors. And I've been told some concerns about something crawling into the building. And I think we need to make sure that those doors are all the way to the bottom, so anything can come from the outside inside the school.
Yeah.
So do you think you can check those doors?
Yeah.
Check all of them and make sure
Yes, ma'am.
that nothing can't get up under those doors?
Yep. Absolutely. That was
Look
addressed
after
too.
that, Mr. Davis, I would appreciate that,
Yes, ma'am.
because that's a great big concern about things crawling inside of the building where children are, your adults. So that needs to be taken care of too, if you would look at it.
Yes, absolutely. And then we're really just an add-on, because we're already doing some door work. If we haven't already identified that area, we're doing some door work in the interior part of the building where we saw some safety hazards and it was identified. And so we already have a company that we scheduled to start to work with them to fix, and might be just something we can add on, have them look at and make sure that take a look at those perimeter doors as well. Keep creepy crawlers out. Certainly not, and I like to play with it.
Right.
All right. And
Oh, you got one more?
And the WIOA did want to let you know, I know during the summer, we talked about that contract and the potential for available funding and additional requests that has come around. And I did make an additional request to, one, make sure that we have enough months of employment covered for the summer, because we know that's the months that our students participate in their work based learning. And also we are increasing the amount of, we've asked for an increase in the amount of salary for the work-based learning participants, to give more money to the students so that they can earn more and create more students. So in addition, we asked for $25,417 more dollars from Turning Point with carryover monies that they had from last year. We hope that'll be a success. We did get a program standards report that we met all standards according to, you know, the spending guidelines of Turning Point. And there's some programming that is currently going on. Of course, we have continuing open enrollment. There are currently 15 students with proper eligibility documents that are already in place right now as of this date. But there are still additional documents that we're collecting from students who've been referred by the Student Services Office as well as DSS. Some other program that's happened thus far is we had some presentations on careers and resume writing and the interview process. That was kind of a part one. Part two will kind of move that further along. As well as our WIOA students participated in the Cackroll College Day at Halifax Community College, as well as the Military Expo at Halifax Community College. We saw the helicopters and military equipment and all that. Our students had a chance to be exposed to that. And working closely with Ms. Davis and CTE on that career day, because it's very much attached and aligned. I always said those programs were so attached and aligned together. So that's just an update on WIOA. Okay. Next. And I think I'll now turn it over to, oh, sorry.
Excuse me, before we get to, school health, the outdoor, I think classroom is what we consider them. Can you give us a little bit of information on the?
I'll be back for facilities, but I can share it now. Okay, I'll be back. with,
Wait.
Facilities update.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Ms. Fields. I'll be back.
Good evening, board members. Good evening. From the Exceptional Children and Preschool Department, we've experienced some field trips. Our preschool children have gone to the Imperial Center in Rocky Mount. And also our self-contained class has gone to Nashville to the sensory station. Also, the EC self-contained at the high school have gone to the state fair. We also have, with our preschool outdoor learning environment, we've gotten in some art and writing easels that will support the ESSES review that's coming up sometime towards the end of the year. Congratulations to Corey Oding and Sabrina Turner. They championed the 71st Exceptional Children's Conference in Greensboro, where I also attended, where we were able to go to different sessions on various topics that were really informative and important to our practices. Next one. The December 1st head count is coming up. You know, that drives our federal dollars. So right now we have 81, and that number's subject to change as, you know, as the days go by. And then we've also received our IDA grant, the 611 and the 619. And we also have our behavior support PRC 29 approved. You have any questions?
Yes. We had, I think it was the last time you reported, we had 100, you shared with us that we had 119 or something like that students. But now you're saying we have 81. Have we lost that many students since the beginning of the school year?
I believe the last time maybe it was 96, but yes. We're declining, but
So out of the 81 that you're saying we currently have, do we have any of those students that will be early graduates, or are the ones that are seniors are on target to graduate in June?
so you're asking how many are graduating?
Out of the 81, do we have any students that are gonna graduate early, like in December, January, at the end of the semester?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Out of the 81, how many, do you know how many we have that are seniors that are projected to graduate in June?
I I could go in ECAS and pull that data up for you for grade level, but I do not know at this time.
So we are on target with the 81 as far as whether they have to have reevals or annual review, all of that, we're on target for our December 1 head count.
Right, right now, the teachers are working towards closing and verifying all of the red dots. And we do have several, right now, I believe we've got about 12 that they are out of compliance. However, those teachers have been notified that principals know they received the same list. And they are working towards closing and verifying those reports.
So we have 12, we said, that have red stop signs,
Yes.
and we're planning to have those completed before the December 1 head count.
Yes, I sat in maybe 5 meetings today, so, you know, they're working
Okay.
towards that, and that's our goal is to have 100%, so they know they're working towards that.
Okay. What about?
So the 12 is gonna be an additional to the 81. But once they come off that red, the IEPs have to be completed.
So that
the
takes us.
Yes, ma'am. The number
Back
that
to the
Ms.
right.
Fields has reported is the actual active number as of now that's active and showing up on the account. So me being the data manager, as the numbers run and I run the report daily, the numbers are subject to change. So as the teachers are completing the IEPs, the number will go up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hold on before you leave, Ms. Turner. Hold on, come back. 1 second.
Yes, sir.
You said the 81 plus 12,
Yes, sir.
that's going to be 93,
Yes, it will, sir.
but it's
Okay.
96 on our handout.
It is 96. We have had 3 kids that have actually left the district. I
Okay,
actually had a report that was pulled today. I mean, we do have kids, like what I like to say is the trifecta.
Mhm.
We're in this area where it's Halifax, Weldon, Roanoke Rapids, and they just move around. So as they come in and out, when they're enrolled into power schools, it automatically pulls them in, so they automatically shows up on our count. As they're exited from power schools, with power schools being the authoritative source, it automatically pulls them out.
okay, just for further, Ms. Fields and Ms. Turner,
Yes,
if you would. I think it would be helpful to us because just looking at one number, we're thinking that's all that it is, but the way
Yes,
you
sir.
just broke it down then,
Yes, sir.
it would be 96, 3 left, 93, 12 have to be reported. If you could break that down,
Yes, sir.
it
There will
it will be more or less
clarity.
self-explanatory.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, when you get to your total number.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say, because I was looking at this and then I heard the 81, so
Yes, sir.
I'm saying we're 15 students.
Yes, sir. Duly noted.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that's done.
Okay. Ms. Hale or Ms. One of the two of you trying to answer another question. Did you say something, Ms. Hale?
We
were talking
about 96.
That's what I heard. Yeah, and then my mind was going at the same time. Okay. Was that all you had? Go ahead.
How many EC pre-K students do we have?
Let's see, Miss.
Because that's in addition to the 81, right? Well, the 93.
That's in that same division.
So the pre-K is in this number.
Yes.
Do you know how many it is out of that number?
Right now, we only have one child in this Scott, and one child in this board's class.
So we have two.
But then we also have the speech population as well, so.
That's in pre-K.
Right.
Right. So I think it was August, you told us that there were 8 students that we were supposed to get. Are we still gonna get those students or?
That CDFA roster has changed. Right now, I have 3 in the referral process. So that child should be placed soon. I have 3 right now in the process.
Do we know where the other 5 went? Cause we want our children.
No, when I say the list has changed, we didn't receive any new children on the report for the month of October. But some of those children on that list, the parent just decides to not go to the school district and take them somewhere else.
Okay. And one last thing. The PRC 29. I know there were 2 positions we were hiring for, or that we were advertising for. Where
This one,
It's one, it was two.
Last year it was two, but this year the grant was written for one because of the behavior support specialist.
So where are we at that process?
Fill that vacancy.
You say it, you have a question?
Oh, how many have we had, you said October, how many have we had in November? Do we have any
Say that again.
in November?
None. You need added to the CDSA list? What were you asking?
Yes.
Oh, right. No, we didn't have any for November. And October was no children, but we haven't gotten to November yet. That list will come out at the end of the month.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Speaker. Child nutrition? Sorry.
I thought I saw something about when you had to approve those.
It's on the back. It's coming.
Okay, I'm jumping at that.
Right, next slide, please. All right, so child nutrition update. Did want to just really briefly, to give you an idea of where our student participation counts are, through October. Child nutrition we set a goal at 70% student participation rate at each of our schools. We're proud to announce that at Weldon Elementary and Weldon Middle, they have exceeded that for both breakfast and lunch through September, as well as coming very close in October in some breakfast and some lunch. Still some work to do. We're continuing to refine how to get more students to participate. Even as we look at the high schools, and this is across the state and nationally, our students at high schools eat less, but in Weldon, we are paying attention to that data. We're looking at our student participation counts. We got bulletin boards up in the cafeteria to help encourage student participation. The menus are posted online to help encourage student participation. And also something that I've worked, Ms. Garner and I talked about at the beginning of the year was looking specifically at each day to see what the menu was and what students actually ate. And we find that, if they like chicken wings, then that might be something we need to serve more often, right? Feed them what they want. So those are just strategies we're looking at and try to increase student participation by letting that be data driven by when students eat. If it's something that we see dips in, don't serve that as all. Of course, we got to diversify the menu to meet child nutrition guidelines, but do as much as we can to serve them what they're eating. Secondly, we are actively still always trying to recruit substitute staffing so that we keep that operation going in our school. When the kids are fed, we know that is going to significantly contribute to their learning and behavior. So we do want to make sure we haven't had anything where we just haven't had anybody get served because of staffing, but sometimes our assistant has to get pulled and go work in different areas, and sometimes that can affect the efficiency of our operation. So,
If I may, very
yes,
quickly, something stood out to me
okay,
on this, and I think it is a positive worth mentioning as well.
okay,
Looking at the 5-day weekly meal percentages that you have given to us from September 1 up until the end of October, I believe it is. In September, yes, through the end of October, October 31st. As of September 29th, we had in our Power School student population 664 students. That increased in October by 21.
yeah,
So we're back up closer to our 700 number than we were in September. And I think that is a positive within the school district as well, getting 21 students back to us in a month's time, in 30 days' time. I think that's good. And Dr. Williams just shared with me, that report will probably change for November because some more students came back to the high school this week. So he can share that with us in the coming days of exactly where we are. So that's good news.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
All right, so that's child nutrition update. Any other questions about child nutrition before we move on? All right, transportation. Work with Mr. Freeman to get an update on Here Comes the Bus. We are pretty much set in terms of the application itself. However, in order to operate the Here Comes the Bus app within Weldon City Schools, we're gonna work closely with technology to increase our server space, which is already in motion. By anticipating December, January, we have servers in place in the district that will allow Here Comes the Bus to operate. And so it's a server issue on the technology side that we are working closely with technology to get in place.
Hold on one second.
Yes.
Mr. Freeman, would you come up as well? Because both of y'all stand there, that's good. I just got a question that I want to ask. We were in the process of the navigational systems on our buses that I think went along with the application. Have all of the GPSs. I know we're waiting on the server. We can't do anything with that, but as far as the installation on the buses, has everything come in to make sure all of that installation was done?
All of the parts for the GPS devices are in. I think I have like 2 more buses to install at the middle school, but high school, elementary, all of those are there.
Okay, now, the GPS system that was supposed to go on our vehicles as well, has that, well, I know all of the vehicles have not come in, but the vehicles that we do have, has that been done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. So only thing we're waiting on is the server,
Yes.
as far as that is concerned. I knew you were in the process of doing it, but I wanted to know where you were as far as the completion of, all of the buses as you said. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. You can hang around. You can hang around.
Y'all have any questions in relationship to the transportation piece?
Right. Next thing for transportation is for an item I did work with Dr. Robertson in identifying hopefully some fund sources out of ESSA 3 to help purchase, or really to purchase, not even help, to purchase some activity buses. We talked about it at the finance committee meeting. We started out with 1 and then maybe thought about, well, how can we get 2, maybe even possibly 3. But working with Dr. Robinson to help identify that as a fund source, we feel confident that we can include that as she works with that, revising that grant narrative that's going to work for approval to include the purchase of 2 new activity buses, 2 full-size activity buses. Mr. Freeman has been working with manufacturers to get quotes, and we have put a quote in your packet for review. So those are for 2 large activity buses, and then we also discussed today, and we don't have anything to act on yet, but we'll be coming forward because we gotta use the best use, make best use of ESSA monies too. It's also a smaller bus that will be efficient when we have just like, for example, cheerleaders that need to go with the team. Instead of taking a full bus for them, we have maybe a smaller bus to help accompany our activity bus fleet. So, but we'll have to get some additional quotes. We got 1, we want to get some additional for that as well and bring it to you very soon. Right, but we do have a quote in your packet that we would like for you to review and go for approval for and Mr. Freeman gonna give you the text on the mechanics of the bus, but certainly this is a Thomas bus, C2 bus that was quoted at $132,412, And we would like to really move forward with purchasing 2 of these buses, which are gonna be really premium buses for us. They are slightly more expensive on the front end, but on the back end, in terms of efficiency and maintenance, we're gonna save, which we know that's gonna be coming out of local, right? And so we can spend a little bit more, with the ESSA, if they're thinking long-term, this will be a savings for us as we maintain these buses out of our local budget.
And it's 72 passenger.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, not this one.
Both of them are 72. You have one for Carolina Thomas that's 72 as well.
They should have one.
White's is
Yeah, right.
White and Carolina.
That's right,
One is an international and one is a Thomas build.
right.
Yeah.
So what's the
The
difference?
international is 56.
Yeah,
Right.
66.
Oh, okay,
56.
okay. That's what I thought. the
Mr.
difference
Chair,
was.
Yes,
I
sir.
have a question. Mr. Spring, just a question where, you have a backup camera and you didn't select that option. Do you think we should get that? Because a lot of places where our buses go, they got the bag up. And I think would be, I mean, if you're gonna go for the gusto, you might as well go for all of it. So that's why I would like to see that camera up there if possible.
That's no problem.
Which one is it that?
That's on the Carolina Thomas.
Right, okay.
That's the top of the line.
Like that one, so it's real quick.
So this is the 132 that you just mentioned, is that for 2 buses?
No, that's for one bus. So we are looking at approval.
I was gonna say, if that's for 2, yeah,
No, sir.
I'll make the motion myself.
So we're looking at two buses, which for 2 buses is $264,824. For those 2 large buses,
Say that number again.
I'm sorry, $264,824. That'll be that 132,412 times.
Right. And it actually be a little bit more once you add that backup camera back in there.
Right.
Yeah, backup camera, I think was.
Backup camera.
Yeah,
And any other features we can see that is not checked, that you know.
now, in comparison, the Thomas bus, I know that's good. But I know International is a very good, in my opinion. In my opinion, I'm not the mechanic, but I know several people that have International, trucks, and they're very, very good. So I know you're a diesel mechanic, Mr. Freeman, in comparison. Is the Carolina Thomas bus, is it that much better over the International?
It is, the Thomas bus is more aerodynamics, which is gonna save on fuel, it's give the driver more visibility. When you add the backup camera, it's gonna be there as well. But going forward, as soon as it's entering the bus, you can see them a lot better than that big bulky International bus.
Okay.
Nothing against International, I'm just trying to look out for the district
True.
and making this decision or recommendation.
I only ask because I mean, like I said, you save us some money by working on these things too, and if that's more economical as far as working on it and I guess more friendly.
They're both powered by the same engine manufacturer now, which at one point International was making their own engines. That's kind of why people got away from the truck engines, and the truck industry is different than bus industry. So that's why
They have the, what is it, the Cummings engine?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And also I will add that Carolina Thomas offers a multiplex system on their bus wiring system, which is a whole lot easier with diagnosing what's wrong with the bus. When in an International bus, you don't have that option.
okay.
One of the statements the salesman made to me, which I'm a firm believer of, working on, is that we don't change features in our cars anymore like we used to. It's just the system that they're designing, engineering to put on the bus now.
Right, okay. Yes, sir.
There's, what source of, are you using federal funds? ESSER funds? For the contracts where they did? Is this real?
It's on a state contract.
So if you're using ESSER funds, so federal funds will be subject to the federal uniform guidance. So while if you're using local funds, then you could use the state contracts under the state bidding exception for purchasing through state contracts, right? If you're using federal funds, then federal law governs, and for a purchase of this dollar amount, it would require bidding, like a sealed bid,
What is the dollar amount that goes to bid?
90,000 for purchasing. So if you are using local funds, then there's a local state bidding exception that allows you to purchase through the state PNC contract, which I saw referenced on the quotes. But it is federal, unfortunately, the federal law uniform guidance requirements take precedence. And at this dollar amount, it would require is as opposed to the.
Yeah, it's good.
So can we, I mean, they said they were gonna bring something else anyway, so I guess at this point, can we just, I mean, listening to what you said, Attorney Weber, we can't really do anything with it. It has to go back through. the
Can if
process.
you don't use federal funds, but it doesn't.
No,
sound
no,
like
no,
that's- Sounds like you want to use the free federal money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Most certainly.
Mr. Freeman and Mr. Speaker, is there a possibility of monies being available so that, per se, a hangar or shed can be used where you can park the buses and some of those vehicles on? I mean, I don't know how long we're gonna have to have them, but the last bus we had, rust got to them, the sun shining, you know, the number of years that it could be in use deteriorates a lot, being out in the weather. If we could do some type of shed where we could park those buses on, and even the cars, you know, make a lot more use out of it.
And we can work on some quotes for that as well. Get some bids, and I know the space is probably there on the grounds within that fenced area, in that kind of back area there, to put up a few in canopies, something like that, to park our buses and protect them on some kind of maybe slab, because that's where the ruts and stuff is on, not on that cement slab. Yeah, we can work on that together, as well as facilities, because that'll be a facility project. We can make them.
And that would be at the central office, so they can be inside. The gate, yeah, it's plenty of room on
Yeah,
that
because
far
it used to
end.
be one out there.
That's right, that's right. And I don't know if the cement that's presently out there, that maybe that could be is the place for, because I don't know if it is.
Probably not deep enough.
Okay,
Yeah, it wouldn't be deep enough.
Okay, 4 inches, probably about 8.
Right.
8 inches. I think.
Yes, yeah, that's heavy. and what they need support.
right, okay.
All right, so what we'll do is, now, do we need anything, can anything need to happen to begin the RFP in this place, right? Process tonight, so we can take this and go and issue an RFP and open it up for the minimum amount of time and bring something back.
Right, so typically the RFP process can be initiated at the staff level. Then when there's an actual board recommendation, that would come to the board. So I don't think any form of board action to start the
Okay.
bidding process. That would be-
Okay, so with an expert like that, to bring you something.
Yeah, you heard the consent.
And I'm happy to consult. this
Yeah,
issue.
we might need some help on
Mr.
this.
Malone,
yeah.
he's our contract expert.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Then we have
We ready?
all right, transportation, that's it. Transportation. Next slide. All right, facilities and maintenance, existing project updates. We spoke to one of them already about the gym, and hopefully have some clarity on this timeline and how we are making sure we support students, even as we continue to get air, central air and heat in the gym. That is one of the major projects we're working on, as well as air and heat at Wegger, at Weldon Elementary School. That's a project that's ongoing as well. The roof project has been completed at Wegger, with the exception of one section of a roof that we are working with that same vendor, Baker Contract, who has quoted us some minimum cost to just fix one area in the janitor's closet that was still leaking upon the completion of that initial project. So we wanted to Is a minimum $3,500 to fix, and we've already, requested that work, to begin at Wegger, so we have a fully enclosed leased roof at Weldon, Elementary School upon completion of that project. We are continuing to work with the architect on making sure that every classroom at Weldon Elementary School is, conditioned at the completion of the project. It's moving along with the barred units being recommissioned so that they are functioning at capacity. One of the things we are working with the architect now on is during the initial design phase of this project, somehow there were 4 classrooms that the architect did not consider in the design plan. So we're now making sure that they work towards getting that included, so that upon completion of this project, I think this, again, the spirit of was that every space would be conditioned. And so we're working with the architects to make sure that that happens upon project completion as well. I know I'm bringing a change order, it seems like quite often, but again, we want to make sure that when it ends, we'll be accountable for making sure that everything is conditioned. So wherever it started, make sure that it ends, where it needs to be. So so be prepared maybe for potential change. I'm waiting to hear back from the architect on what that looks like. I'm also comparing what the scope of work was initially to make sure that we are getting what was initially proposed in this project. So, all right. Proposed central office project. As you know, we've had some leaks in the central office, in particular in that main office area. And if you ever noticed in the boardroom area of the central office, some of the tiles have shown signs that there are leaks in that office area, as well as one of the office spaces has had, you've seen, discoloration of walls. And we had one of our contractors that we're working with on roofing already, Baker Roofing, to come take a look at it, as well as another contractor, but developer seems to be a reputable relationship with Baker in terms of their responsiveness and their work ethic around projects. But in your packet is some images of visual damage around the roof at central office, where there's metal sheathing that has been removed. And Mr. Davis and the contractor have been up and just assessed to see where we are, how much needs to be done. And initially, you can see the scope of work of what would need to be done to at least begin to repair what we know visually is present. As you can see, that's been some wood that's rotted, that's been exposed to water. And so we want to start there. We brought this up to the finance committee, and we thought that in order to make sure that we address this, the best way possible, because once that roofing starts and you start peeling layers back, you never know what else you might find. And so just maybe to add some kind of contingency with board approval, that in case this project now extends beyond $7,500, which was quoted. Of course, we could have, began that work with the threshold, but we wanted to make sure that we also had some contingency in place so that we can just move forward with the work, which I thought was a great idea from the finance committee. And so I guess if I propose or recommend a contingency, I would probably at least double that. This will be capital outlay, local. So we would probably need to at least look at, that's a $7,500 quote for Baker Roofing, probably with another $7,500 contingency, which would put us at $15,000 for this project.
Question,
Yes.
we can't do this with ESSER funds? I mean, it's below the thresh that the attorney just referenced. We can't do any of that with ESSER.
Well, I would lean to my attorney to see, I would wonder about, I just know that so much of ESSER that we've done so far, and I don't know how much engineering work has to be submitted and approved, and with the roofing project, with this roofing project.
I don't know if roofing projects, building repair, that would fall within the authorized uses. There are a number of different uses that can be authorized. I don't know specifically about this. I'd be happy to look into it.
Yeah, I would be interested in that stuff because, as you all know, we had some roof work to be done to the gym, along with the installation of the air conditioning. So if that roof work was taken care of with ESSA,
And welcome.
yeah, exactly, at our elementary school. So I don't see, especially, you know, with it being what it is.
And I know generally, you know, renovations, construction, those have been approved, authorized uses. And if the board were to approve this, this and the next, it'd be my recommendation. It looks like we have the vendor quotes, would be to approve it, subject to further attorney review. You could also approve it while directing staff to explore federal funding options. And you would be approving essentially the dollar amount and the scope of services, and then delegating the staff to identify the source of funds, which would give them flexibility.
Yeah, I think that would be the wise out. If we can hold on to capital outlay and we have to spend this ESSA anyway. That'll help us.
And then the other thing we know is we have to write it in the grant narrative to
Right.
get approved as well. So that'll be part of what we know we will also have, that has to happen is we use ESSA, we have to write it in that grant. That'll be approved at all those different levels, and then it comes back and it feeds to LFAS and chart of accounts.
And generally staff, you know, authority to determine the source of funds, so you'd be able to check whether to plan, whether you spend an amendment to DPI, that the board gives that flexibility to determine the source of funds.
Well, with the 7,500 plus the other 7,500 that's being asked for, I mean, you make sure we cover the project. I think that would be wise for us to do. I mean, because we'll be saying, with Rupert, we'll be saying 15K. With 7,500 with a $7,500 contingency.
And I have another one to present, which might fall in that same category. When we talk about the envelope of the building and keeping it airtight and keeping moisture out and keep rodents from coming in, there's those 4 bay areas in the warehouse area that, you know, there's several departments used for storage of different materials and records and just all the departments use. We want to kind of make sure that area is maintained safely, dry, without, you know, pests and things like that, because pests sometimes bring other pests. And so we got a quote for some garage doors that would be tightly fitting around the openings to ensure that, you know, the goal of keeping that place airtight would be met as we think about the roof and trying to make sure also we cover our entrance ways. Also, the proposal would be make sure that they were non-manual controlled, automatic garage doors. Because as you know, we don't have the capacity to have assigned warehouse staff, which, you know, 24/7 at any time, someone may have to go hit a button to let, you know, people in, that kind of thing, and just more safety in terms of lifting, you know, heavy doors. As a matter of fact, we've had some experience with injury with that, and so we know that having some automatic doors there would be a lift for everyone in central office. A lift, really.
All right.
And that may fall under exploring ESSA too. I mean, I don't know how you want to move with that.
Personally, as a board member, anything that we can spend out of ESSA and keep our funds in reserve, because ESSA is gonna run out. I just think that's the wise thing for us to do, because we don't want to send it back and then we left hold in the bag and still got to pay for what we need with local funds. That just doesn't make sense.
And I would say, with NCDPI as the sub-granting agency, if there's any question as to whether it be an authorized use of funds, I don't know if you have a federal programs contact or consultant at DPI who you'd be able to reach out to.
So I work with Dr. Robinson to give a DPI, and we've already worked on trying to put this together, so I'm sure she would invite me to be a part of that meeting and hear about proposing using this for these type of construction projects. So we'll get together.
And I do work with the NCDPI consultant to make sure we're in the line. You don't want to turn it back or do that process.
Y'all have any questions with the proposal as far as the roof and the warehouse doors, the garage doors for the warehouse? Yes, sir.
Mr. Futrell,
Yes.
this says, it's gonna be, electrically operated, but they only list one inside wall control. There any way that there can be any way to, have a punch, you know, it don't, you know what I'm trying to say.
The pad.
Yeah, like a keypad on the outside, because if it's just on the inside, that means when they pull up, they're gonna have to get out and go around or wherever to close. Cause this is just saying one inside wall control.
That's a good point, and Mr. Davidson, he can give us more explanation to that part.
Good afternoon, board chair, board member. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Superintendent. Mr. Williams, I think you wanted access to the outside of each of the doors. And that can be done. It certainly would cost a little extra money, but it would be a minimum effort to do. Certainly for the two upper doors, that would make sense. The two lower doors, perhaps not as much, but we can certainly do it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because they only say something about one there. Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Williams, let me ask it to your point. When we're talking about putting these doors, there is an outside door where you step down anyway, right by those bays, correct?
Well,
Or
besides
where is that going to be?
two of the larger doors, and those were the two that said probably maybe not. But two of the other doors are along the entire dock. So
Right.
he's absolutely right. The doors down here, the other two doors are down here.
Right,
So you have to come all the way down here, go inside and open the doors respectively. So it would make sense if you had something, at least at a minimum for those two.
yeah, that's what I was talking about,
Yes.
yeah, for those particular two,
Absolutely.
that's the furthest.
Yes.
Is that what you were saying too, Mr. Williams? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So I guess with all that being said, I mean, we gotta see whether it's gonna come through ESSA anyway, so all of that can kind of be woven into the fabric of what we're talking about.
Right, and the board, with regards to the roof repair and the garage door purchase could approve those proposals from staff and delegate to staff the ability to determine the source of funds. And if you were to do that, I would also recommend approving them contingent on further attorney review. I've been consulting with Dr. Williams on the contracts themselves and recommend putting them on your standard forms just to make sure you have your typical terms and conditions. And that would all be with the understanding that the cost remains the same, and that the scope of work also remains the same. If there's any change to either of those things, that it would come back to you. That's just a proposal for your consideration.
Unless anybody has something different. I think what we also saying too with those garage doors that, as you said, Mr. Williams, that second keypad or whatever you want to call it, controller, you know, would be put in place. So that would be something that would have to go in with it, I would think, and moving forward. Along with the approval of what we have tonight.
And that would not need to be bid out necessarily, because it's under 90,000, correct?
And that was a whole lot, but the motion is in order.
So,
What we doing? We're doing the buses too?
No,
Oh.
not in that.
Oh, just the.
That has to be bid.
Just the roof.
The roof with the contingency and the central office warehouse doors or garage doors. And with the addition of the second controller, what we were talking about. And
So,
all right, it's been motioned by Mr. Williams and seconded by Ms. Bird Robinson that we approve these two items with the flexibility of our staff and per our attorney, approval of these things to determine the funding source. Did I, get what I needed, what we needed to have?
I think that's the general idea.
Okay, all right. All right. It's been motion and properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Let the record reflect unanimous approval of these two items.
And the only thing else, well, I know we had, there were some questions about the metal structures that are, that are being erected. Give you a little background to the, just in terms of how it's operating. Initially written in the ESSA plan was the, proposal of, or erecting, as the ESSA plan called it, outdoor learning spaces. I.e., the metal structures that you commonly see on grounds with a cement slab. We have one carrying on, just fulfilling that plan and the work, orders and POs that were already in place to make sure we abide by our, contract with those vendors. Beginning with, one at the middle school. And we got there really think because one was supposed to be at the middle school, one was supposed to be at the high school, one was supposed to be at the elementary school, and one was supposed to be at central office. So we had to begin somewhere. So we began at the middle school, knowing that, well, we got, a new high school coming. So didn't want to start there without, some additional input and feedback about the structure. And then the elementary school, didn't want to start there because any place that you put it there requires the taking down fences and getting, trucks in that ground, which is already, we noticed the other day, a soggy area. So I'll be worried about bringing any kind of trucks and cement trucks and things like that in that space. And then of course, central office, where would you put one? At central office, that would be, and we talked about a little bit in the finance committee, an area that doesn't invite, but talk about ways maybe we can mitigate that with constant law enforcement patrols and things like that. So we had 4 that was part of the written in that plan. It's purchase order back in January, and it's one of the many projects that we were trying to get caught up on. Hence where we landed there. So opportunity is after we look at the one at the middle school, to really make it an inviting and warm space. I think, beautifying it a little bit, making a place where people feel comfortable and, maybe some shrubbery, some greenery, some type of furniture where students feel comfortable, teachers feel comfortable for it to be, many modalities of learning, and some students learn better. That's a Gardner's intelligence around learning outside. So there's potential there to make it the best that we can make it for our students and staff. Hence, moving forward, though, we do need to decide how we work with the other 3. During the finance committee, we talked about maybe using the 3 at the remaining 3 at the elementary school somehow. We walked around early in the week. We identified a space right along the edge of the sidewalk leading towards that back street from where that currently got a tent out there right now, canopy out there right now, where bus pickup is happening. Where you might be able to, kind of have one elongated structure that would be the same as 3, based on the cost that we've already committed to this, right? So you would have just one 72 by 26 slab, right? With that same dimension of 3 metal structures erected as kind of it could be served as many purposes, whether that could be a small amphitheater or a place where kids wait to get picked up, because right now they wait inside and then they come out the steps. a lot of different ways. I know early in the year, Mr. Williams, you brought up the idea of wanting us to explore like a canopy coming from outside that cafeteria, and we looked into that. This might be a way where we've already committed some funds to help remedy that, have kids, wait there, and it'd be attached right there to that drop-off area. So those are just some ideas of how we can best move forward with it. Yeah, and then we make ADA accessible, we consider that, because if you put it right there on the edge of that sidewalk, then we don't have to pour additional concrete to make it ADA accessible. It'll just feed right from that sidewalk onto that new area.
Based on what I've seen, if we're gonna do anything, I would like to see it where our students could, use that area if it's raining outside and they're waiting for their bus if that's something that we can do, so our students don't get wet and our staff who's out there waiting with them versus. If they have siding on and the people in the corner. That's what I would like to see. I don't know about that being a outdoor classroom. or anything. I see that for more protection.
The court is, they can go out and do the learning and that, but yeah.
I would say put it in protect our students.
But another school, either use it for a counter for these new buses.
But that won't be tall enough for buses out there.
Yeah, I said the
Our
elementary.
students. For standing, I won't consider it a outdoor
Not all
classroom.
the way, but I'm just saying a little bit more siding from the
You
top.
can add some,
Yeah.
it'll be some additional
I'm
cost.
just thinking-
How much are they? How much are we paying for each one?
Roughly, it was like $8,600 per structure, because you got about 6-inch
Yeah, you
cement
got
slab.
for cement.
You got a nice heavy cement,
The 86 foot.
8,600
Oh, 100, okay, per each one,
per
times
structure,
four.
per structure.
Yeah.
So we have 8,600 times 3 right now remaining with the structure. And I know that was a roundabout. It could have been-
Right.
You said you was just following order. Who are these orders from?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I was just follow, I don't know if say that.
Well, I mean, who put this process in? And who did the paperwork?
So it was originally written in the ESSA plan. So at some point, the ESSA plan had to be,
The board,
Right.
we approved this, this was written in the ESSA.
Okay, who wrote the estimate for that?
Well, who was here at the time for the federal program.
We changed so much.
I don't know when it was written, I can't say.
This was approved
We've only got one other federal program, so.
January of this year,
That's when the PO was.
because, yes,
Well, who did
Miss-
the PO?
Miss,
But if-
Austin signed off on this. Miss Campbell was the finance officer at the time, and Miss Dameron was interim superintendent, and we approved this in January.
And our facilities person signed off too.
But if I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
at the time.
if I'm thinking outdoor classroom, that's not, if that was presented, that's not what I would have envisioned. However, if we are gonna get those, I would like to see there be protection for our children who, and, children and staff who's out there waiting for our kids to get on the bus. Car riders.
You want to try, and Miss Easter, I think she could be an important voice to it as well. I don't know if she has any additional ideas about the use of those structures.
Okay, so what?
Hold on, Miss Easter, if you would. So, because we do have people viewing online, I want to make sure you can be heard. You are the building administrator.
So my question is, what area are we talking about putting the structures on? I heard the part where the buses are, then I heard a part about in the back, putting a canopy back there where, the car riders,
So it essentially be when you first come out of that the structure that's there, that little area that's there, to the right, the car riders, to the right, you would have.
Is this in the back where the,
It would be up on the hill, but where the where the asphalt, where, you know, everybody parks up there. That's the area that I think Mr. Williams, when it was initially mentioned, that's the area we were talking about up there, the additional coverage. And when we were in the finance committee, and the only reason why we talked about it is because money was being spent.
Right.
Generally, this would have been a facilities and grounds discussion, but when, you know, we were talking about money being spent, that's how it came up. That's the only reason why it came up in that committee. And we were just talking about it because we had Mr. Futrell there. Mr. Davis was there, superintendent. You know, we were all talking about that, and we were just saying, in light of what Mr. Williams had said, that would probably be the best area. And I think Ms. Harrison, when we talked about it earlier, had said something about that as well. And, you know, we were saying that area will probably
That
be,
would definitely be the best area to put it, because I remember when we were at pre-K, we had to walk in the rain, snow, and everything. So that would be the best area to have that to protect the students. The part over there by the buses, that already have a protected area. When they
In the
step
front.
out. Mhm.
yeah, we weren't looking at that at all.
Yeah.
No, we weren't looking at that at all.
Absolutely.
The side of the
Totally
building,
agree.
when you come out, you go up the little ramp, and there's one already there, so you turn right,
That's right.
you will be able to walk down that sidewalk and then go to any area of that.
Where those ramps are, so how far, what are we talking about, coverage?
Whatever the dimensions are,
75-24.
Okay, so coming out of the cafeteria, how far are we talking about extending the coverage?
It will probably go to close to where that other boundary curve is, right when you come in.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but it'll be on the grassy area with.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
On an average, how many students and staff do we have standing out there? I just wanna, in my mind, see if it's long enough to, you know.
In the moment, we have like 5 staff members outside. We got 3 right there where the cafeteria doors are, and then we have about 2 standing on the asphalt. And then you got a lot of kids, parents dropping off kids.
Yeah. That will. Put it out there.
And then the only other uncovered part would be going down into the area, which I think still probably need to look at that.
and that was the additional
Yeah.
that Mr. Williams had mentioned
Yes.
about that coverage there. I mean, that still needs to be done. I believe, I agree with that still needs to be done, but that's totally separate
Yes.
from what had already been obligated.
So you're talking about where the ramp part is?
Yeah, that's additional coverage that we were talking about.
And that way you can have an area when they leave the building, all the way to have an area where they wait
That's
without
right,
ever being rained on.
right.
I think that area is a start,
Yes.
and that's what I would prefer to.
I agree.
I would see that. So. About, say, 4 children, you know, that-
All right.
Good idea.
Anything else? We gonna get the school here. We'll get the school here. Is Mr. Miller still here? Oh, there he is, okay.
I'd like to move back and request a few seconds to introduce one of my fall coaches that I forgot left his name off the list today. We've got to have a few seconds to introduce him and to apologize. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Can't do that. It's too valuable.
Everyone, this is one of my football assistants. I forgot to mention his name earlier today when I called the athletes and the coaches up, Mr. Isaac Miller. Isaac doing a whole lot to our program. I really hate that I missed your name today, but let me tell you what happened. It was my fault because I was trying to play it safe. I had an original cheat sheet, an original eligibility list up here that I was reading the name off of. He didn't get started till about a week after I submitted that list to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. That's why his name wasn't up there. So that's why it's not good to cheat. I just want you to know that I love you. The athletic program loves you to death, and we love what you bring to the table. I apologize. And keep doing what you do for us.
Appreciate that, Coach.
Thank you. Look, not everybody's perfect. We're all human, man. I don't take it heavy. It's okay.
Thank you.
Glad to be here and I appreciate everything, man.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, man. I know, that's right. Well, without further ado, good evening, board members, chair, vice chair, and superintendent. On our COVID-19 testing updates. So within our testing program, we have a district-wide total of participants, 243 participants. Everything has been stable as far as I can tell. We just have 4 extra participants that have been added to the high school and 2 that have been added to the middle school. With middle school, it's just been 1 staff member and 1 student, and at the high school, all 4 have been students added. Positive cases as of tonight, students, we just have 1 extra case at the high school, and that last case was October 31st of this year. And with positive cases with staff members, everything's been stable. The last case was September 27th of this year. Any questions?
I think we may have asked this last month, but do we have kits that can be given to our families? Like the COVID, the test kits?
Not that I know of, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
So I did COVID testing kits. I did see something. Remember that grant I was telling you about that we got was part of COVID, that there was an option to maybe order some. I got to explore that a little bit, because I don't know if we got that comes out the budget and people already kind of committed to, or if that's something that's additional. But I definitely look at that. I did see that. And Mr. Bill and I have been working early on getting that in place, but I'll look into that further.
And I know that we were advertising for, was it 4 positions, Dr. Williams?
That's correct.
And we filled 2. Do we have 2 still, or do we have something coming soon? Because as we all say, we want to spend every brown penny we have on our school, on our students.
We have 2 currently. 1 is working on the nurse grade with the high school and the elementary school, and we have another who's working with Nurse Williams with the middle school and Hardback. And they're both currently, I've distributed take-home letters to give to each of the students to get to the parents at both of the nursing extenders, and they're both currently working with the nurse to get those out currently. Their detailed letter from the MACO team personally describing what needs to be done with their phone to get their child or children registered for the COVID testing program.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Appreciate it.
Y'all, good night.
Good
All right.
Take care.
Can we go on past this break?
Yes.
All right, next we have is public forum. Dr. Williams, do we have speakers for public forum?
We have 3 individuals signed up for public forum this evening.
Okay.
We have Ms. Tanika Bryant.
Ms. Bryant? Ms. Tanika Bryant? Okay, she's not here.
And we have a Ms. Patricia Bryant.
Ms. Patricia Bryant? Okay, hold on, let's see. Tanika Bryant. And who's the second one you said?
Patricia Bryant.
Patricia Bryant. Patricia Bryant. All right, neither one of them here. All right, moving on. Third.
The third would be Ms. Regina Brooks.
Brooke. Ms. Brooks, when you're ready.
Good evening. It's good to sit at the back of the bus. Now to get my notes because I really need my notes. Good evening to all. My. I've heard so many wonderful accolades here tonight. I commend the district. I'm here to give you, as I've given you for the past 23 plus years, educational messages. It is your duty to accept the action or reject me and the message. I am not your enemy. During the month of October, I requested public information. I sent the information to each of you and your lawyer. I have yet to receive it. I will follow up with another notice tomorrow. I requested information the same day from Martin County, went to Martin County, and I received it right in my hand. I admonish you, number 2, to advertise your public open meetings. I've documented 2 that were unadvertised. Just trying to help you. Your school improvement plans, where the mental health, the social, the creativeness, sounds like it was 30 years ago. AIG creativeness, intentional learning, promoting long-term success. Where's your parent coordinator? You are Tier 1 county. You have more money, and I hear you talk about money than you ever had before. More than I know you've had in 25 years. What about the children? Research states that it takes approximately 3 years to turn the system around. Look around you, look at all the new faces. If everyone in here would bring their children or adopt a child, trust me, you will have a #1 system tomorrow, like we did 25 years ago. Are you really looking to make success for all children or just the top 10%? As I stated, I'm just a messenger. Do what's right for all children. Happy Thanksgiving and thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me say this very, very quickly, so our community can hear this. Anything that we do in public, whatever it is, money, contracts, all of that, we know it's public information. We can't do it in secret. And Dr. Williams, I know you will. I'm just saying it for record's sake now. If anybody is asking for public knowledge, of course, you know, we can't give it. It has to go through channel at the central office. Just make sure that whatever requests are submitted, you know, you have documented requests and make sure that we respond as a district, you know, with information that any stakeholder or community person may be requesting. That's the best that we can do, because we as the board members, we don't have the files in our hands and things of that nature. The records are kept at central services. So I just kind of ask that, and I know you will if anybody asks in that respect. And please have the department heads to respond accordingly if it's, you know, related to their department. And again, I know you will. I don't have any quarrels about that. I know you will do it. Thank you so much. All right, our consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. The athletic director stipend for cleaning, the bonuses for our employees, which will be $12.50 in December and $12.50 in May if the person is returned, which I hope they will. And C, the beginning teacher support program. Are there any questions or comments concerning the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent
I
agenda.
got a question. Did we ever get the dollar now?
or, I thought it was fine. Yeah, I shared last month as it was fine.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
Second.
Mr. Williams, you still, any other questions before? Been motioned by Mr. Williams and seconded by Ms. Hale that we approve our consent agenda. You heard that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye? Aye. Any opposed? Nay? Ayes have it, let the record reflect unanimous approval of the consent agenda. All right, number 10 on our agenda for tonight is action from closed session, and we did not have to return to closed session tonight. I'm still gonna have some birthday time.
I move that we accept, I move that we accept the names from our closed session. All action.
Been motioned by Ms. Kay Robinson. And who's gonna take that second? Cause y'all will tip for tat. Oh, she was going to give it to you, Mr. Williams.
I'll yield it to my.
All right, she said she yielded to you. So it's been motioned by Ms. Kay Robinson and seconded by Mr. Williams that we approve our action from closed session. You heard that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voting sign of aye? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, let the record reflect unanimous approval of the action from closed session. This time we will ask if we have board comment. Dr. Williams has something that he wants to share with us before we have the board comment. Just mention something real quick.
Thank you. The Weldon Town Parade is gonna be on December the 1st. 6 o'clock PM. They are requesting to line up at 5 o'clock in the evening at Weldon Elementary School. They will line up there in the parking lot, and they will move forward whichever direction they go, but they want to use the space of the elementary school as they customarily do, I'm told.
Yeah.
So just want to share that with you so you'll know it. And I think that was the same day.
Yeah, we're gonna scratch that. We'll get that since they putting all that in motion. And I'll share afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just want you all to know that that's gonna happen on the 1st of December. 5 o'clock, they'll be gathering, 6 o'clock, the parade will begin.
All right. But board comments,
Yes,
Ms. K. Robbins?
I like to say, that I've been looking at the high school, Mr. Hopkins, Principal Hopkins. And I would like to congratulate all of our seniors. They're highlighting the seniors as they get accepted to various colleges and universities. I do have a concern, though. I have not seen our seniors from RVAC mentioned yet and congratulated and posted on Facebook. So we want to make sure that we're mirroring everything that we're doing at the high school that's good, that we do it at our RVAC as well, and acknowledge our graduates who have been accepted to colleges and universities. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving.
Ms. Robinson?
I'd just like to say thank you all for all of your hard work. That includes the board and Dr. Williams as well, our attorney, just everyone in the room, because it truly takes a village. And I know that I am excited and happy to be a part of this village. Graduate, Weldon High School, I said many times, 1994. So I am definitely glad to be able to give back to my community.
Ms. Harris?
I would just like to take the time out to thank everyone for their support and their prayers. Got reelected back on the board for 4 more years, and the next 4 years I vow to do the very best, not that I haven't done, but try to do something a little different. Our kids are in dire need of a lot of help, and I vow to do the best that I can to make sure that they receive everything and more within Weldon City School District. And thank you all, everybody from the board, superintendent, everybody that's in here, and stakeholders, parents. I thank all of you all for that.
Ms. Jenkins?
I just want to say that I thank everyone for voting for me. For being back on the board for 4 more years. And I am going to do what's right. And to the best of my knowledge, to do what I can to support all our staff. I've been up here a long time and I love Weldon. I didn't graduate from here, but my husband and all my kids, and I have a granddaughter that's at the early college now. So I want all of the support. And I'm glad to see Mr. Hawkins. I guess he probably forgot me, but I remember him. I was on the board when his mom and dad was here. I am so glad to see you back being a part, giving back to Weldon what we gave to you. And that makes me feel so proud. I really do. I love to see that people that come back and give to us. So I just want to say I thank you.
Ms. Williams?
I just like to thank the teachers and all the schools and the classroom, because I know y'all wore out. And I just hope that you get rested up over Thanksgiving holiday, so you can make it through to the Christmas holidays and get recharged again. But I can't thank y'all enough for all that you have done, for the extra time you have put in. And then with the administration here, people online, we just thank you for supporting Weldon. And things are going to get a whole lot better. Going to get a whole lot better. We're better, but we're going to get a whole lot better. And we're going to look to get our students back. We're going to look to get our students back. We're doing some good things. We just got to get it marketed and sell it. And we're going to get our students back. Thank you to the administration for all their help. I can't help but look at Brian and smile.
I know, that's right.
Because he was a horse on the football field. I'm looking for him to be a horse and run the school as a principal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
In closing, I ditto everything that my colleagues and fellow board members have shared. We are excited. We are grateful. We are thankful for everyone that is in Weldon. And let me say it in this respect. We're grateful for those individuals that want to be in Weldon, that continue to come and strive day in and day out to make the educational environment one that is conducive for learning here among our students. And we are about our students, and we're going to continue to do that. I said earlier, we want to be a premier district. I will say in closing also, we had our annual meeting of our North Carolina Caucus of Black School Board members this week as well. I did come away being reelected again as a state officer within the North Carolina Caucus of Black School Board members. And also, we had a plea this time that we would make sure that we fund our scholarship program. And we left there with a little more than $4,000 towards scholarships. So the North Carolina Caucus of Black School Board members, it will be coming up next year that there will be scholarship opportunities for students all across the state of North Carolina within our LEAs within the state of North Carolina. And we certainly hope that when that information is released, that students from Weldon will be applying to be recipients of some of that grant funding that will come out by and through the North Carolina Caucus of Black School Board members. Thank you all so much to my fellow board members. It's certainly a joy to continue to work with this team. Again, we may not see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, all of us are about making sure that our children have the very, very best. And it's all right to disagree without being disagreeable. And that's what we are. We are a team and we enjoy working with one another. May you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you again to our staff that have been working so very, very hard. We're not going to hold you any longer. Enjoy yourself. Eat all you can, eat all you want to. Just don't overdo it if you know you can't have it. Thank you all for giving me a little bit of birthday time yet and still. I got an hour and 9 minutes to celebrate continually. So we're gonna entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, Ms. Jenkins, motion, and Ms. Hale, second, then we adjourn. The meeting, but now you heard that motion. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Ayes have it unanimously approved that we adjourn our meeting for tonight at 10:52 p.m.